Simpson kills those two people so hard, they stop making the Ford Bronco.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody here. It is so good to see all of you. We have a crowd here waiting already. Who do we have? Hurley, Joe, James, Alan, welcome. Rose and Thorns, welcome. All right, Jack, Matt, welcome aboard. Kaiser Pineapple, good to see you here. Entry required, awesome. Steve yelling in the house. Okay, now we got more and more people piling on, so it's hard to keep up with everybody. But we have Alan and Rose. Our mods are here. Let's see, any other mods? Those are our mods so far. Wow, why is my voice so high today? Let's relax. Okay. All right, it was a bit of a stressful day, so I guess my voice is just a little tighter than usual. All right, so what have we got going today? Before we get going, we have to have a bit of a celebration. Today is the day I hit 25,000 subscribers. Currently we're at 24,999. Someone bailed on me, but hey, so it's time for a little celebration. We got to have a little mini champagne celebration here with a little Moet Chandon mini. Oh, cute. What a cute little noise. And of course, the champagne is going into the Johnny Depp Mega Pint official Legal Vices Pimp Cup. Ooh, okay. To all of you that made all of this possible, my first 25,000 subscribers, hopefully not the last 25,000 subscribers. Thank you all. I could not do this without the help of you viewers, my most wonderful Legal Vices chats, the Vice Squad, and without the help of my mods. I deeply appreciate all of you. Love you all so much. Thank you very much. And here's to another 25,000 subscribers. Cheers, all. Awesome. So there we are. We hit the big 25 today. But today's not the big celebration. I mean, it's a little celebration for me, but we're going to have the big blowout on October 7th, Friday, October 7th. Mark your calendars. It will be evening time in the US, I have decided. So I hope you'll spend your Friday evening with me on the 7th as we do our regular Effort Friday and 25,000 subscriber blowout extravaganza. I'll be inviting a lot of guests. Whether any guests show up or not, we'll just have to wait and see. But guests will be invited for that day. Otherwise, it'll be a regular Effort Friday where we just talk about garbage and we get really, really, really drunk off of your super chats. That will be our big celebration. I just wanted to acknowledge all of you and everything that, all the support you give me and everything that you've done for me to get me to this point so quickly. 4 months and 19 days was all it took for me to get my first 25,000 subscribers when there's people that have been doing this for years and don't have that. So I deeply appreciate it. Darth Hideous says, don't invite no gays. Hell no, the gays know how to party. It's going to be a party. If you ever want to go to a party and have a hell of a good time, you got to invite the gays. All right. Oh, and we've got a couple little things to get out of the way here. Hyper Shot to thank you so much for the super chat. Let me scroll back here and see what it was. It's a hot dog. Thank you so much for the hot dog. That is appreciated. And that kicks us off of the supers this evening, followed very quickly by our hashtag Panzer Prison. Flux, thank you so much for the super chat. Hi, sorry I'm late. Nah, that's okay. No worries. Thank you so much for the super chat there. And yay, 25,000. And you were a part of it. All of you that are here are a part of the 25,000 subscriber grift. It's kind of weird. I didn't expect it to happen nearly this fast. I expected it to probably be around 300 or 400 people about now, but hey, it's taken off and I'm not gonna complain. I'm glad you're along for the ride and hope we'll stick here together for quite some time. And we all know the drill. Again, mark October 7th on your calendar because I want that to be a big, massive blowout. It'll be the usual Effort Friday fun where you $100 shots, see how quickly you can get me to pass out, but also there'll be guests, so that could be interesting. And as we go through tonight, we are going to be watching part 4 the last part of the opening statements, and then I think we'll move on to maybe Cato Kalin's testimony. He was rather pivotal and rather interesting. But we will be finishing up the defense opening statement today. We're watching the end of Johnny Cochran giving a very theatrical, very, very powerful, and very, very moving, as he is wont to do, speech. We saw the first part of the prosecution's opening statement, the first two parts, Chris Darden and Marcia Clark, their deal. Wasn't impressive. Then we watched Johnny Cochran clean it up in the first half of his opening statements, and he even annoyed the other counsel so much that they made 7 objections during the first part of the opening statements, if I remember correctly. And I think they ended up getting one of the objections successfully. Otherwise, Darden just kind of schooled the prosecution and put them in their place. And we're going to see if that continues on through the second part of his opening statement. While we do that, let me just remind you while I bring this up to please hit the like button. We've got 71 of you here now and 46 likes. So hit that like button. Let's bring these numbers up and keep those numbers up. I was looking at the analytics, and my viewers to likes ratio is extraordinarily high, which means you guys are freaking awesome. My like rate is quite, I mean, not overall like numbers, but just the per capita, how many of my viewers hit the like button is in the extreme high end of the scale. So again, thank you all for that. It's getting us notices. Comments are quite, I think they're in the upper high range. Things, I mean, all of the indicators say that you guys are freaking awesome in your support of me. And I think it's starting to get the attention of YouTube. We're starting to get a few more recommendations. So I'm thrilled. Let's continue to grow the channel. You're all a big part of it, and I hope you'll continue to be a big part of it. So hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We were at 24. We were at 25,001 was our high. Now we're at 25,001. Now we're down to 24,999. So someone that hasn't subscribed, just get down there and hit that one thing. Bring it back up to 25,000. It's annoying to see me under 25,000 right now. So hit the like button, hit the notification button, and again, double check to make sure you're still subscribed. And with that out of the way, I think it's time to jump on in. Oh, we're not there yet. The Squid coming into the super chat. Thank you so much. Congrats on the 25,000 subs. Here to the grind to 1,000K. Well, of course, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Is to get to that silly, stupid little plaque and say, "Ooh, look at me! I got a silver plaque." That's what I'm going for. Of course, that's everybody's ultimate goal. I guess I can take my phone out of my pocket. I don't need that anymore. It's just kind of weighing me down. And thank you so much for that, Squid. Let's party, says Ann Kirk. I am in that mood with you. The gays mix the best cocktails. They do after me. I make the best cocktails, but right. How many subs do we need to hit the 25,000 mark? None. We are at exactly 25,000 again. Exactly 25,000. So all right, we got that one done. We are one and done. Actually, I just need to do it so I can get a screen capture of it. Okay, yeah, here we look down there. We are at exactly 25,000 subscribers. Now I feel much better than the one person who bailed. So we are there. Rose, my wonderful mod, the next goal is 50,000. That's the next milestone, but we'll just take it. We'll take it one subscriber at a time. It's great to have you. And again, Debbie Joey says, Jeff, that means you are awesome. No, I'm awesome because you are awesome. If y'all think I suck, you wouldn't be here. So there. Flux says, we do love our legal vices. Stephen H says, gay. 121 million subs, ultimate goal. I wouldn't even want that many. I mean, like maybe 120 million. Yeah, but I don't think I'd want 121 million. I mean, that's just excessive. But again, cheers to everybody that made this possible. We'll have the big blowout on October 7th. Hopefully with a parade of guests. And as we go through this, because this is a video day, I'll have a little bit more chance to look at the super chats as we go through. But mainly, of course, just the one that catch my attention, they're the supers because they just flash in my head and the colors jump out and I address them. And because you are throwing your hard-earned cash at me, I feel it's important to acknowledge that quickly. But we'll see what we can do with the rest of the people here in chat, because you are important too. And it's just kind of hard to see all of the comments and answer all of the questions. Otherwise, there would be no show. But if you want just to have a chill and question answer deal where, no super chats are required or anything, whatever, it's just an absolute chill stream, join my members. And this Sunday, my Sunday morning, your Saturday night in the US will just be my members only stream. We'll just sit, chat, and talk for an hour or two. So that is one option. But until then, please leave your comments here in the chat or whatever, and I will get to the ones I can. You're guaranteed to get your questions answered and things addressed if you do the super chats, because it's just, it's the right thing to do. Now we've got 3 parts. This video has 3 parts today. One, I just wanted to play the very last part of Johnny Cochran's opening statement that we watched last time, the last 3 or 4 minutes. And then there's a break and about a 5-minute video, and then into the part 3 of the 2-part the 2-part thing. So let's bring this up. And this is just to refresh your memory, what a dynamic closing to the morning session that Johnny Cochran had, wearing his suit on point, got the glasses, got the chains, got the cufflinks, got the white press suit, looking fly, and he is delivering it with his speech. Ladies and gentlemen, opening statements for Orenthal James Simpson, his murder trial by Johnny Cochran, part 2.
Just before we wrap up for lunch, I think the evidence will show you that in order to believe that OJ Simpson committed these horrible murders, you'd have to believe that he came back from back east where he'd been working to come to his daughter's recital, attended that recital. You see his picture there. It was home getting ready for a trip to Chicago that had been long pre-planned, that he was hungry. The evidence will be that he didn't have any dollar bills or $20 bills.
Dollar bills, y'all.
He asked to borrow some money from Cato Kalin. Cato Kalin gave him this money. He went and had a Big Mac. You have to believe that he was planning to kill his wife either before he got this Big Mac or then went and got the Big Mac that Cato Kalin will describe. He was dressed in some kind of a sweat clothes and some tennis shoes. If you follow the people's case, you'd have to believe that he then came home and said, gee, I think what I'll do is I'll go over and kill my wife now, and I think I'll take these tennis shoes off.
There are no captions for this part.
Some dress shoes.
But there are captions for the next part.
Shoes and change clothes, knowing he's going to be leaving shortly to go to the airport. And then you'd have to believe that, to believe their theory. And then to make their theory work, they spend all this time talking about the plaintive wail of a dog, because they've got to make this as early as possible at 10:15. We know that that's not correct based upon the facts that you've heard. And to conclude, isn't it interesting that in all of the discussion yesterday by these 2 very excellent lawyers, they never once mentioned their coroner, Dr. Golden. He's another mysterious mystery witness they don't want to talk about. And when we come back this afternoon, let's talk about why the prosecution doesn't want you to know about Dr. Golden. Let's talk about when Ms. Clark says, well, you can't really fix the time of death here with any precision. We will have testimony from one of the leading pathologists in the United States, Michael Batten, who's also worked for the LA County District Attorney's Office, who's written a book about the John Belushi death. He was able to pinpoint the time of death to within 1 hour. And yet in this case, because the coroner was not called for 10 hours after these bodies were found, or 8 hours, and they got out there about 10 hours, violating the state law, we are precluded from pinpointing this. And they have to tell you that it's about a dog's wail when a man's life is at stake. We'll pick up after lunch, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Cochran.
Okay, so you remember that was part of the prosecution's opening, was that's how they were fixing the time that this occurred, because there was a bunch of people outside, and someone heard a dog wailing, at around a vague time. So that was what the prosecution are saying sort of pinpoints the time of death. A dog, Nicole Simpson's dog running through the neighborhood crying, wailing. Johnny says, nope, that's not possible. Now, what happened right after the lunch break is the prosecution, they wanted to talk to the judge and whine some more about their objections. As you recall, they kept saying Johnny Cochran was giving arguments. He was saying improper things, and they objected 7 times. So the judge gave them this little 15-minute hearing before the jury was brought in after lunch, and the prosecution was saying, well, we're sorry, we don't want to interrupt him. We really, really resisted every urge to object to his opening statements, even though they did it 7 times. But he's really done some bad things, and the judge was like, I just don't really want to hear it. Judge Ito says, you guys did the same thing. But he did acknowledge that a lot of the statements that Johnny Cochran was making were coming close to being argument, which is inappropriate during opening statements. I mean, those were the things like, why didn't they call this person? Why didn't they tell you this about this person? That sort of borderlines on being argument and making, that rather than saying, this is what your opening statement should be limited to, this is our argument. This is what we're arguing, and this is what our witnesses are going to show. We'll bring the evidence to show you that this is what happened. But they were sort of casting aspersions. The prosecution didn't do this. The prosecution didn't do that. They didn't mention this. They didn't mention that. So it was more argumentative, and Judge Ito kind of told Johnny Cochran, I've got my eye on you. You're getting close in this afternoon session. Let's not go over that line. And there was still more the prosecution wanted to say. So Judge Ito says, let's talk about it after the jury leaves at the end of the day. And that's where we pick up part 2 of the video. Again, like and subscribe. Here we go. Let's bring it on up. Bring it on up to the side. Okay. This one has closed captions. So I hope they're accurate. Sometimes they're a little bit dodgy. Inner City Pigeon says, really enjoying the OJ throwbacks. Well, that's good. Thank you very much. I happen to be enjoying them too. And just before we go, I've seen a lot of this in chat. Why aren't you a target of Boozy? What are you doing wrong? I've been quiet, but we'll talk about tomorrow. Join me tomorrow. We'll talk a little Boozy. We'll talk a little bit of about Boozy and some internet weirdness. So maybe I'll be on his hit list after tomorrow. We'll see. I hope not, because if you're coming after me, you really have a lot of free time. Let's get on with OJ.
The record reflect that we've been rejoined by all members of our jury. Be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we will resume with Mr. Cochran's opening statement. Please remember that the opening statements by the attorneys are not evidence. Mr. Cochran.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. When we broke this morning, we had just gotten to the point of discussing the coroner who previously testified in this matter, Dr. Golden. And I think
we'll talk about that in just a little bit.
The opening statement yesterday, we didn't hear his name. And we expect that he will, in fact, be called in this case. Either if people don't call him, then we will. And I think that you will hear evidence to the effect that you can, in fact, determine the time of death with greater precision than you heard yesterday. That if one is qualified.
Oops, sorry. Congratulations to 5 lucky people. Rose has gifted 5 Legal Vices memberships. Thank you so much. That's very much appreciated. The lucky people are Made in Iron. Made in Iron gets 1. Brad Best gets 1. D. De Leon gets 1. DR gets 1. And John Teeter gets 1. Wow. Congratulations. So that's nice for the 5 lucky people. And it's also very generous of you, Rose. Thank you so much.
One can look at the state of rigor mortis, the state of lividity of the body, state of the temperature of the body, and also the ambient temperature. Use things like the stomach contents. In this case, there was a major problem. Dr. Golden's testimony is that he would place the time of death between 9 and 12 o'clock. Now, between 9 and 12 o'clock, you now have heard enough of the evidence to understand that at 12 o'clock, Mr. Simpson was in the air. And at 9 o'clock, there'll be testimonies you've heard as to where he was at his house. So we have a problem with regard to trying to fix the time of death. And you heard the prosecution's theory yesterday about the time of death being about 10:15. You've heard from me this morning that the defense advances the theory that that's clearly wrong based upon the witnesses that you've heard. Now, with regard to Dr. Baden, who is our expert, and I should tell you a little bit about him. Dr. Michael Baden is a former forensic pathologist, the chief medical examiner for the city of New York. He resides in New York. As I said, he has worked for the LA County District Attorney's Office in the past. He's considered one of the foremost forensic pathologists in America. He came to, the evidence will be, he came to Los Angeles shortly after Mr. Simpson's return from Chicago, and in fact, went to the LA County Coroner's Office that week, the week of June 13th. And it was after Dr. Michael Baden's conferences with Dr. Golden and his superior, along with Dr. Baden's colleague, Dr. Barbara Wolf, that the coroner's office wrote a letter to Mr. Hodgman with an amendment to the coroner's report they filed. And I'd like at this time to turn our attention to the graphics. This is a letter that is directed to our colleague, Mr. William Hodgman. You'll see Mr. Hodgman there. And we'll proceed on.
D88.
And for those of you keeping score at home, I know somebody mentioned it in chat just a minute ago. We always go through this. Skunk-headed guy here, the guy with the skunk stripe in his hair, is Robert Kardashian. Yes, the famous lawyer father of the famous Kardashian family. So that's why the Kardashians are famous, essentially, is because Robert Kardashian became famous through this trial, and somehow his kids got famous. So there you have it. This is the guy responsible for bringing most of the Kardashians to us.
It'll become clearer.
Oh, again?
I have an objection to interpose. I wish to approach at sidebar.
God damn it. This is number 8. This is objection number 8 that the prosecution has made.
And I would like this image stricken from the screen for a moment.
Oh, God. Blah, blah, blah. Why? Oh, F. Lee Bailey's going up to argue the sidebar. F. Lee Bailey. Okay, that's the end of the that's the end of that part of the video. We're now up into part 3. I have no idea why they broke it up into 2 tiny little parts like that, but they did. But this is kind of a weird, unstable thing, so we'll bring up the alternate thing here. While we're looking at these people, just kind of the cast of characters. We have Robert Kardashian. We talked about, obviously, Johnny Cochran is there. Let me bring up the video here so we can all see it. Where are we here? Bringing up the other video, and we'll go through the cast where you can see them. How would that be? Boom. My screen is flickering, and it's frankly making me incredibly nervous. All right. There we go. Nope. Let's bring it on up. All right. Now, as we look at this here, we have Johnny Cochran, obviously. Robert Kardashian here and his little skunk do. We've got Mr. Scratch himself, cop here. He kind of scratches himself quite a bit. And for the defense here, we have Barry Scheck, who I've mentioned several times, crushed the LA criminologist Dennis Fung by brutally cross-examining him for 8.5 days on the stand. He's a professor at Yeshiva Law, I believe. I think he founded the Innocence Project. F. Lee Bailey, of course, is an absolute legend in the world of lawyers. He kind of had an unfortunate end to his career and life eventually, but back in the day, he was the bomb. I mean, one of the main cases we talked about before was the Tommy Lee Jones Harrison Ford movie, The Fugitive. It was also a TV show back in the 60s. It was based on a true story of the doctor that came home, found his wife being murdered, and saw a one-armed man flee from the building. And that was like, that's where this coming. Oh, who did it? The one-armed man. That came from that case. It led to the TV series, led to the movie. That was a real case. And F. Lee Bailey was the lawyer that represented the doctor in the real Fugitive story. He's defended very, very, very high-profile criminals. We'll talk to him. We'll talk about him more later, both during these trial reviews and after in a separate incident, in a separate stream that I want to talk about him. So that's kind of the defense scare. And then the prosecutors, they're just prosecutors. We don't really need to waste our time with them. They're just LA County prosecutors. All right, let's settle in for a ride here. Yeah. We've got a wow and a didn't know that. A wow from Ann Kirk and a didn't know that from Joe Choi. Yeah, if you just Google F. Lee Bailey and see the absolute famous cases that he undertook as a defense lawyer. Very quickly, Ann Kirk says, you being an attorney, do you think he was guilty? As we'll talk about at appropriate points through here, I don't know if he actually did it. I don't think he actually did it. For lots of reasons we can get into. Mainly, he's a 46-year-old man with arthritis taking out a strapping young 20-something guy and a girl quietly where no one could hear. He wasn't covered in blood. He wasn't soaked in blood like he should have been. There wasn't a lot of blood evidence found. There was suspiciously little blood evidence found. But do I think he was there? Very possibly. Do I think he watched it? Very possibly. Do I think he had something to do with it? Most likely. That's just my personal. Those are my personal feelings. And very quick, Michelle, do you remember any outside influences that may have impacted OJ's jury, like what almost happened with Kyle Rittenhouse? The jury was sequestered in this case, and what that means is they are put in a hotel, and they are kept in a hotel from the beginning of the trial until the end of the trial. They don't get to go home to their families. I think they got to go home for like one holiday or something, but they were stuck there for the entire trial. Occasionally on weekends, they would go out and like tour buses and go somewhere and private and do things. But basically they were kept under lock and key for the duration of this trial, which was 9 months. They were locked up together in a hotel for, I believe it was 265 days. The longest jury sequestration in American history. So yeah, cell phones weren't a big thing back then, but no TV news. They got videos and things like that, but no TV news. Very few, if any, phone calls home. They would get to go over to doctor's offices and things like that. So yeah, they were under lock and key for well near a year. So yeah, like 3/4 of a year. All righty. Well, with that under our belt, let's continue. And please, again, do not forget to hit that like button. 151 of you here, 93 of you, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's go.
Indicating to you, I think that this is a letter to Mr. Hodgman, and you can move to the next one, Mr. Harris.
That was the 9 to highlight. That's the 90.
It's an effort to make it clear for you.
B91.
It's also quite nostalgic to look at the
You
old
can now see
technology
what's
they're
happened
dealing
here,
with.
that the letter, the lines have been blown up so you can see them more clearly. You'll be able to see them yourself. I don't have to read those, I don't think.
B92A.
Let's kind of skip through a little bit of this.
This one, if I might stop for a moment, this would be one that's very important, and I'd like to read this. the stomach contents of Ms. Nicole Brown Simpson were not saved. And you will hear testimony during the trial that if the proper procedure for any coroner's office in the United States, they wanted to determine with some accuracy time of death would be to save the stomach contents. In this case, the coroner's office threw those stomach contents away. We will never have those. May proceed, Mr. Harris, please.
That was B93, B94A. B94.
No closed captions for this.
This has to
Sorry.
do with the mislabeling of a sample regarding Mr. Goldman.
All right, flip through all this evidence that we don't really care about.
98A,
And a coroner's photographer to the
99B.
office response team was not allowed access to the decedents by LAPD until approximately 10 hours after the LAPD's arrival at the scene. That will become, we think, important in the evidence, and we will share with you a transcript of a conversation between one of the detectives in charge when the call was first made and asking them not to come out at that time. Our experts will testify that if one wanted to determine the time of death, the coroner's office needs to be called as soon as possible to respond to the team. Mr. Harris, sir?
B100A. B100B.
Come on, get to your arguments.
B105.
Those are basically amendments to the coroner's report brought about after this conversation and meeting between the LA County coroner who did the autopsy here, Dr. Golden, his boss, Dr. Lakshmanan, and then our experts. Now, we expect that when Dr. Baden is called to testify in this case, we'll make a number of findings because he was there. He was able to review all these records, and we expect the evidence to show, while we're talking about coroners, that he will testify that the injuries and bruises on Mr. Ronald Goldman's hands indicate that he had struck his assailant, and yet there was a fight, a major fight.
Mm-hmm. This is one of the
Prior
points.
to his death, that proper forensic procedures would preserve the stomach contents of the deceased, as I've indicated to you. That in this case, there was no rape or semen kit analysis performed. And we would expect that the expert would testify that a semen rape kit analysis is standard procedure for coroner's offices in the United States at this time in June of 1994.
Finish the
We'll
champagne.
also
Got to make us a
testify, I
cocktail
believe,
now.
that closer to the time of death, one takes the temperature of a victim, their livor mortis and their rigor mortis, the likelihood of an accurate result increases. And that's very important. He will say also, I believe, that the killings would have resulted in an enormous amount of loss of blood. Of course, you've seen that evidence of which would be expected to be on the perpetrator. It would have expected the person who committed these horrible crimes would be covered with blood. Dr. Baden and along his colleague also Dr. Wolf examined histology samples and pointed out to the coroner's office a bruising of the brain that Dr. Golden had missed. They pointed out some findings that their coroner's office had actually missed, and they advised them and let them know. There was in a supplemental report filed regarding that also. Dr. Baden, as the expert, will testify that the LA County Coroner's Office violated their own procedures performing these two autopsies. He will indicate further that the autopsy findings in this case are consistent with the struggle that resulted in hand-to-hand combat. That Mr. Goldman did in fact bleed profusely and he bled slowly, and that he was standing through most of this. And that in his opinion, the perpetrator would be covered with Mr. Goldman's blood. Also,
Childproof
Brad
cap
will
on this
testify
damn.
there are blood drops on the back of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson, and there were no swabs taken. In fact, when the body was moved and taken to the lab, those blood drops, which very well may have been of the perpetrator, were wiped off or washed off, never preserved.
Got it.
So, what I expect the evidence to show through our testimony and through cross-examination, as I've indicated, that the coroner's investigators who came to that scene also didn't wear any covering over their shoes. we expect you'll be able to see that this scene was tracked through and traipsed through
Now
by the
this
coroner's people.
this testimony where they're talking about how the evidence was, where he's going to show what the evidence will show regarding how the evidence was collected, if that made any sense. What the defense's evidence they present will show about how the coroner, the criminologist, and others collected the crime scene evidence is very, very important, because this is what Dennis Fung was brutalized by Barry Scheck over for 8.5 days. How they collected the evidence, all the things like he's saying, not wearing shoes when they're walking through the crime scene, not taking care of evidence, not properly putting them in envelopes, not storing them at proper temperatures. They just savaged him. And this is kind of the important part. These are the things that got to the jury, I believe. Mr. Upper Torso, thank you so much for the super chat. You say, I'd love a prolific lawyer stream. Might I recommend Jerry Spence along with Bailey? Actually, I already did a thing on Jerry Spence. It was one of my earlier videos, probably back in, I think around the first part or the middle part of June. Jerry Spence being sort of my lawyer hero. He practiced, his firm was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is just up the road from where my father was born. So yeah, he's kind of the hometown guy. Yeah, so just absolutely an amazing speaker. He's an orator. We just don't see people speak like he does. Go back to sometime around the middle of June and look for the Jerry Spence video. And I actually plan on doing some of my hero lawyers. F. Lee Bailey's one of them. Jerry Spence, we've already done. Clarence Darrow would be another one. So we'll kind of be doing some of the big people that influenced me and that I respect and admire as a lawyer. Thank you so much for the super chat, Michael Palmer. Did Alan Park, the limo driver, testify already? Out of everyone, I think he was the most credible. I think he also proved that OJ wasn't home sleeping when he first arrived and the Bronco wasn't there. Well, that's the deal. The defense, they argue the Bronco was there the whole time. He just didn't look hard enough, but we probably won't be talking about him because he wasn't a real major highlight, I think. I just kind of want to we're not going to do the whole trial. This is just the opening statements. These are only the opening statements by the prosecution and the defense. It was a long trial. It was 9 months long. There's no way we're going to be able to just watch every single day. That would take about 15 years the rate I do it. We're just going to hit some of the high points. I don't really remember him in particular being, any more dramatic or exciting than any other witness. But I'll check it out, and if it fits, if the witness fits, we will view it. That was lame. Sorry. Yeah. And finally, before we jump back into it, 65 CJ5, thank you so much for your super chat. He said, I thought Alan Dershowitz represented him. Alan Dershowitz represented him in an appellate capacity. He was the appeals lawyer. He was there to stand by if there was an appeal. If he was found guilty, then Alan Dershowitz would take the lead and handle the appeals. And for the interim issues where they made an objection and the objection was overruled or whatnot, and they wanted to appeal that during the trial, then that was what Alan Dershowitz was doing. Alan Dershowitz actually wrote a very good book about this trial called Reasonable Doubt. Highly recommend it.
Just as it had been by the LAPD people. And at some time in this trial, we hope to have some graphic video evidence of that fact to you so you can see for yourself. In short, from our standpoint, from the defense standpoint, and wanting a fair trial, being able to defend our clients, the actions of the coroner's office has obviously made everyone's job, and specifically the defense's job, much more difficult. That when the LAPD failed to notify the coroner's office for 10 hours in violating the state law, it made everybody's job more difficult. Dr. Goldman, if and when he testifies, as he testified at the preliminary hearing, and asked questions as to whether or not there could have been 2 knives used in these 2 killings, would indicate that some of the wounds on these 2 victims are consistent with a double-edged knife. Some are consistent with a single-edged knife or blade. So that would be consistent that perhaps 2 knives were used. And I think that we can expect that from his testimony either by the people or by us if he is called to so testify. in addition to Dr. Michael Batten, we will have for you to testify Dr. Henry Lee,
Henry
the
Lee is
foremost,
awesome.
foremost forensic crime scene analyst in America.
You gotta love the defense. And I mean, those, if you can remember what happened last time, they're going through their witness list, which I think is also great. The prosecution, they were just telling stories about how they went to a restaurant. Oh, he was looking through the window and saw his ex-wife banging some dude on the sofa, and he said mean things to her, or not so nice things, or however they phrased it. They told these elaborate stories about how they went places and they got in an argument, and then they got home and then nothing happened. It was all pointless. But here, Johnny Cochran's being on this. We're going to bring on this witness, and he's going to say this. We're going to bring on this witness. He's going to say that. We're going to bring on this person. This is what they're going to say. Just it just goes straight down. Very powerful, very effective, and the witness list is insane. They've got the prosecution made a big deal about DNA evidence and PCR testing for the DNA, which was really, really, really young back when this happened in 1995. So yeah, there's like, oh, and again, if you remember, Marcia Clark was saying, oh, this is, this was just after Jurassic Park came out. Like, this is like Jurassic Park. You can take the DNA and it does all these wonderful things, and you can pinpoint what, you can narrow it down who did it. And Johnny Cochran said, well, our expert witness is the guy that invented that PCR test and DNA testing. He's our Nobel Prize winning inventor of the DNA PCR test. They're bringing, and there was several of these witnesses like that. Their psychiatrist was that they're going to be bringing on to talk about domestic violence issues. It was apparently like the number one person in the United States at that point in time. Now their criminologist they're bringing on, he said, was one of the best in the country. Now they're talking about their forensic scientist, Henry Lee. Henry Lee is the frickin' bomb as well. I don't know if any of you have seen there used to be a show on the Discovery Channel, I want to say. It was one of the crime shows where they had a kind of a Chinese American gentleman guy who was talking about how you find killers and things based upon forensic evidence. And I don't know if he was also in the movie The Staircase. I don't know if you saw that on HBO, where it was a big mystery. Did the guy push his wife down the stairs, or did she fall down the stairs and hit her head? And the defense in there brought in this Chinese American looking guy to analyze the blood splatters. That's Henry Lee. He, as Johnny Cochran just said, he is the foremost forensic pathologist in the entire United States. So yeah, Forensic Files, that's what it was. Maiden Iron says, yeah, it was a Forensic Files. Yeah, he was in charge of the Forensic Files. And he was also in he's everywhere. He is one of my heroes. I could listen to him talk about blood splatters for days and days and days. Absolutely amazing. The number one guy in the country. And of course, he's on the defense team. They're just stacking the deck against the prosecution.
He is head of the state of Connecticut lab. He'll be here to share with you his findings with regard to this crime scene and what took place at that crime scene and the contamination of the evidence thereof. Now, with regard to the opening statement yesterday, as I said, you were told that in this case, the coroner's office couldn't do any better than 3 hours. And I think that with the evidence we've shown you, we're going to show that it could have done an awful lot better. And we'll have other cases to cite for that. I've covered with you this morning the question of the timeline. We'll talk about that at the very end again. Ms. Clark talks about a trail of blood where there is no trail. And we will expect to have evidence showing that, whereas she told you yesterday, time and time again, that they were looking for matches to exclude, that what she did not tell you was that there are trails that lead toward innocence, and they were not pursued. Let me give you some examples based upon the evidence that I expect produced in this trial. There is, and I'll go through this list for you. Expect the evidence to show that there was blood under Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's fingernails. It came back a type B, an EAP genetic marker. And that does not fit the genetic profile of Mr. Simpson, Mr. Goldman, or Miss Brown. Some other person.
Some other
There was
person's blood
found on
under
Miss
her
Nicole
finger.
Brown Simpson's thigh. That came back also for type B. There was, as you might imagine in this case, all kinds of evidence that come forward, people who want to volunteer things. There was a knife found shortly after these killings. The blood on one of the knives found also was this type B, similar to the blood that was found under Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's fingernails. You would expect that blood would be of the perpetrator since it's not hers. We will, in a short time, show you a graphic of several things in that connection. There were identifiable fingerprints which not match and don't match Mr. OJ Simpson or any of the police officers there. And this becomes relevant, we think, because the contention of the prosecution is that one of the gloves was lost in this struggle, supposedly. There are identifiable palm prints. It's no match to Mr. OJ Simpson. Our experts will testify there are different patterns of shoe imprints at this scene, indicating perhaps more than one.
Well, this is something to think about as we watch through this. Is can't believe you think OJ didn't actually do this himself. How many more mountains of evidence do you need? There was no reasonable doubt. The jury already made up their minds. They'd never convict. There were, I believe it was a majority black jury. So there was no, white racism against him. And there was an equal number of white, opportunity for there to be some sort of white supremacist thing against him. Here he's going through things that I think if he can prove would be reasonable doubt to me. Okay, there's blood under her fingernails that don't match his. There's blood on her thigh that doesn't match his. There's a knife with the same blood on it that doesn't match him. There's fingerprints and palm prints that don't match him. All that kind of points towards doubt. It's a thing. And again, it's those are the things that the prosecution has to overcome. The prosecution has to explain why there's blood under her fingernails that didn't belong to him, and which they didn't test. They have to explain why there's this strange blood on her thigh. They have to explain away why there's fingerprints and palm prints. They have to explain why blood that wasn't on a sock randomly showed up on a sock again, why there was blood on a gate that wasn't there before. They have to explain these things. That's the beauty of the country we live in. The prosecution has the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that you did it. The defendant doesn't have to prove his innocence.
Person.
Oh, and before we forget, real quickly, sensible advice guy. If your lawyer is rhymey, you did the crimey. Nice.
No mention of that thus far. We expect that to be the testimony. There are no hairs on the Bundy glove that are matched to Mr. O.J. Simpson. There are negroid hairs on the knit cap at Bundy that do not match Mr. O.J. Simpson. But the prosecution has never.
He's getting ready to jump up again. Watch him. But see, again, they're explaining all of these things that don't match O.J. Simpson as being someone on site. Yeah, Mark Fuhrman, not Mark Harmon. Mark Harmon's an actor.
To this date, done any DNA tests, as far as we know, rather, on the Bundy glove. Testing has been slow. That when the investigators arrived at the scene of these double murders, she talked to you about somebody named Detective Risky, Well, Risky
Because
may
he
have
said
been
it
the
is
officer
Mark
Junior.
Fuhrman, that the
This
cop that
case
screwed
was
everything up.
assigned
The racist
to
cop
Phillips
will
and
definitely do his
Fuhrman.
testimony.
This was their case. This is West Los Angeles homicide, Phillips and Fuhrman. That it was transferred from them because of the high-profile nature of the case to robbery homicide thereafter. But Phillips and Fuhrman continue to play an active role in this case. You'll hear very, very little about an officer Risky. But one of the interesting things I think you'll find about this crime scene is the dearth or lack of any photographs, examination, or investigation inside that house. I don't think you'll find one photograph from inside that house. There will be some evidence that the officers who arrived at that scene, shortly after finding these bodies, found a partially melting cup of ice cream from Ben and Jerry's. We don't have that. I don't know that there were no pictures taken of it. So we don't have any way of seeing how much it was melted. We're precluded from that at this point. This was found near the back of the residence of the Bundy home. You heard a lot yesterday about blood drops at Bundy. Well, as you could tell, there are obviously thousands and thousands of drops of blood at that scene. Ms. Clark talked to you about 5 blood drops. But we expect the evidence to show that the blood drops that they found had very, very little DNA. And a graphic soon I will try to demonstrate for you the amount of the DNA found in these blood drops, which meant that these blood drops, according to our experts, were either old or degraded, contaminated by people who collected them and tested them. And of course, the blood drops at Bundy are in an area where Mr. Simpson and his children have obviously been on many occasions. There were tire tracks in the back of the house, which have not been matched to any of Mr. OJ Simpson's vehicle. Now, one of the things that we expect to show during the course of this, our presentation of evidence, is that there was, in fact, a major struggle. And Mr. Goldman fought valiantly. He was apparently physically fit, 5'10" and 170 plus. He was stabbed a number of times, perhaps 30, and there was blood on his hands and arms. He had a number of defensive wounds. And the experts will testify that you would expect that the perpetrators, that Mr. Goldman's blood would be all over the perpetrator's clothes, hair, all over his body. In fact, he would be saturated with Mr. Goldman's blood.
Yeah.
And of course, under the prosecution's theory, the perpetrator was driving that Bronco that night. There's no evidence of Goldman's or Nicole Simpson's bloodstains inside that Bronco of the amount that you would expect, given this situation, that the pattern of blood that they talked about yesterday, the small, very small pattern of blood in that vehicle, is very consistent with what I expect you will hear is a statement made by Mr. Simpson. Now, Ms. Clark went on yesterday and said that with regard to the DNA evidence, she talked a little bit about DNA. She didn't talk about or make a distinction for you between the RFLP, the restriction fragment length polymorphism, or the polymerase chain reaction, the PCR, of which our expert basically invented it. But I think what you'll find is this is very, very sensitive evidence that is then Xeroxed up, molecular Xeroxing, and we'll talk about that a little more later. We think the evidence will show that the pattern before I tell you that, I think the evidence will also show that on the steering column of the Bronco, item number 29, people's exhibits, I don't think you were told this yesterday, that they did not talk about a DNA mixture consistent with, not necessarily a match, consistent with Mr. Simpson and someone other than Nicole or Ronald Goldman, some other person. That with regard to Rockingham, Mr. Simpson's residence, again, I expect there'll be testimony that Mr. Simpson
That's my
did
thinking.
in fact cut his finger in some place where I'm pointing now, near the end of this middle finger. And he so told the police that evening, January 13th, and that he went out, he did it either as he's about to leave or whatever, he went out to the Bronco to get his cellular phone. That what I think you'll find and what I think the evidence will show is that the reason there was no blood coming up the stairs, and this carpet in this house, I think you'll find the evidence will show, is largely white, largely very light. If you have a jury view, you'll be able to see it for yourself. You didn't find any blood other than what you saw outside and just in that entryway. And I think you'll find that leads toward the kitchen. And there'll undoubtedly be testimony with regard to that injury, if any, occurring before he ever left for Chicago. There will be, as I understand the evidence, no trace of blood on the white carpet upstairs or up on the stairs or upstairs. No trace of blood on the white carpet from any bloody shoes. No trace of blood on the white carpet from any bloody pants or shirts. And no trace of blood on this white carpet from any bloody socks. The evidence will show that in an effort to find any evidence, not to exclude, but to include Mr. Simpson, they searched everywhere in the area in Los Angeles. They searched in Chicago. They searched everywhere they possibly could think. And they did not find any weapon or any clothes because Mr. Simpson, the evidence will show, did not have them. They took apart traps and pipes from his sink, showers and plumbing, and searched everywhere for these various things. The evidence will also show that with regard to Miss Nicole Brown Simpson,
Objection number 8.
Mr. Hodgman? All right.
Well, they're figuring this out. We'll address Michael Palmer's deal here. Also, I don't think random killers run around wearing Bruno Maglio shoes at the same exact size as OJ. At first, he says he wouldn't wear those ugly ass shoes until they found pics and video of him wearing them. That's true. That was one score for the prosecution, where they had him wearing shoes he said he didn't wear, and they found the shoe prints there at the scene. But again, that just sort of supports, I think, my theory that he was there. Maybe he didn't do the killings himself.
That the people in their investigation.
Maybe he was there and watched it. Maybe he was there before. Well, he wouldn't have been there before. Maybe he was there after. Maybe he was there. Maybe, but that's the problem. I mean, that would make him just as guilty as whoever actually did it. But the prosecution was inept. They dropped the ball so many times that it created a reasonable doubt whether he was there or not. In my mind. And again, I know I said this when we started doing these a month ago. Whether he actually did it or not is of no importance to me as a lawyer. I mean, just from a legal perspective, whether he did it or not isn't really that important to me. What's important to me is, did the prosecution meet their burden of proof, which is beyond reasonable doubt that he did it? Did the state of California meet the burden of proof necessary to take away someone's life from society for the rest of their life until they die? And I don't think they did. I think the prosecution botched way too many things. I think the police botched way too many things. And when you get someone like Mark Fuhrman, who says, no, I'm not, and we'll get to his testimony later, who says, no, I'm not a racist. I've never, ever used the N-word in my entire, and by the way, this is where the term N-word came from. Mark Fuhrman and F. Lee Bailey used it so much in their examination and answers that they just started referring to it as the N word at that point, because they were actually using the words. But he said, no, I've never used that word in my life. I would never use that word in my life. And F. Lee Bailey said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave this courtroom and I'm not coming back in this courtroom until I have absolute proof that he used this word. 2 weeks later, he came back with tapes and tapes and tapes of him using the word. So, and he was the one that found the blood on the gate. He was the one that found the knife. He was the one that found the glove. And he's an obvious racist. And I mean, that would be the quickest way to destroy your credibility when the guy that finds all of the pertinent evidence seems to have a thing against black people. So again, Yep. Like I said, we'll definitely do the Fuhrman and F. Lee Bailey cross-examination. That it was effective and brutal. Short. It wasn't 8.5 days like Barry Scheck's was, but yeah. You got him to be pleading the fifth. And again, it's not totally hard to kill someone. Well, it's not too hard to kill one person when you totally ambush them. The other person, to take out two people absolutely so silently the neighbors don't hear them, for one guy pushing 50 is a pretty big feat. But you know what I'm saying is, again, to me, ultimately, at the end of the day, looking at this from a legal perspective, it's not important whether he did it or not. It's, did the prosecution meet their burden of proof to take away someone's freedom for the rest of their natural born life? And for right or wrong, I don't think they did. And it goes back to the old principle that it's better that 100 guilty people should go free than one innocent person be behind bars. We lock up way too many innocent people on way too flimsy evidence, I think. But that's everybody's got their opinion of this case, which is what makes it fascinating. Yeah, OJ Simpson wasn't a typical 50-year-old. But he was, in ways, he had arthritis. He had severe arthritis. But anyway, again, it's the burden of proof. Did the prosecution meet the burden of proof? And that's what I want us to focus on. Worlds Without End I don't think anybody will change I don't think many people will change their mind as to whether they think he did it or not. But I just want us to focus on the prosecution and the cross-examination of the prosecution's witnesses by the defense, to see if you, at the end of the day, think that the prosecution met their burden of proof.
Did in fact check the sink area and the shower area and some areas in the bathroom, for the bathroom floor, for areas for an indication there may be blood in those areas. Some of those tests came back positive. There will be testimony. There will be testimony with regard to this entire area as to those tests and what other things will test positive for. The court will, at the appropriate time, allow this to be discussed. Now,
Proceed.
Thank you. With regard to Ms. Nicole Brown Simpson, which I was about to talk about, the testimony, we believe the evidence will be that because of the nature of her injuries, a lot of blood came forth. So the perpetrator would, in all likelihood, be covered and soaked again with her blood. We think this will become important again when you determine the absence or lack of blood, certainly with regard to Mr. Simpson, not perhaps regarding the perpetrators of this offense. Ms. Clark yesterday talked about a mysterious disappearing black bag.
Someone asked us, what happened to the black bag that Kardashian supposedly removed from the stream, God damn it, from the scene, because there was a lot of that. It's like, there was a black bag, and he gave the black bag to Kardashian, and Kardashian took off with it. What's the story behind that? That's what Johnny Cochran's going to get into right here. Statuesque Misk, Shaggy's "It wasn't me" just popped into my head. That's the ultimate defense. The only defense better than the "it wasn't me" defense is the South Park Chewbacca defense. And last time I played the Chewbacca defense, I got a copyright claim. Brandon Lesko in the house. Thank you so much for the super chat. Jeff, is that your lucky stabbing hat? This is my lucky stabbing hat. This is my lucky incompetent legal vices Johnny Depp megapint pimp glass. Yeah, we've got the lucky cigar, I guess we'll just call it that. We are here with the lucky stabbing hat. Thank you so much for the super chat, Brandon Lesko. Always a pleasure to have you here. Let's get it on.
We expect.
I mean, not
there'll
you and
be
me. I mean, let's just turn the
videos
video
in
on.
this case, that the black bag, I presume she was talking about, was Mr. Simpson brought back with him from Chicago.
Brandon Lesko, I am at exactly 25,004.
I believe it was in police custody, certainly at one point. I know they had it in their custody. And so it didn't seem to us that's a big mystery, but we'll have to look at the evidence as it develops. But we're not aware of any missing black bag that Mr. Simpson has or whatever.
And statuesque Misk, there's your "it wasn't me" defense. The black bag they talk about, we don't remember any black bag. That's their story, and they're sticking to it now. And that's a beautiful thing. They didn't say, it had useless stuff that he took away. They didn't say, Kardashian took it for whatever reason. It was his gym clothes. They just said it wasn't there. It didn't exist. And by saying it didn't exist, now Johnny Cochran has just very casually, just like that, switch this over to now the prosecution has the burden of proving that there was a black bag and that it disappeared. Otherwise, they come off as liars on that point. And it's something that they can bring up in the closing arguments when they say, oh, they told about this big black bag they were trying to make a big conspiracy out of that supposedly disappeared. They never talked about that during the entire trial. That's a lie. So that was a very, very clever thing of him to do. Not explain it away, not talk about it, just say it didn't exist. Now everything goes back to the prosecution. Otherwise, they look silly. They're damned if they do and damned if they don't at that point. Brilliant, brilliant strategic news. But we'll see how the prosecution dealt with it as we go on. The look on Kardashian's face during the verdict made me think the black bag had something in it. We'll see. But right now we are at the midstream point here. So hit that like button. We've got 210 people here now, 152 likes. So about 50 of you haven't done your job. At least 50 of you haven't done your job yet. Please hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. We currently have 25,004 subscribers. We hit the 25,000 marker earlier today. Yay me. I am proud of myself, and I'm proud of all of you. Couldn't do it without all of you, the mods, the viewers, the subscribers, obviously, because that's who it is. All of this is because of you. I deeply appreciate it. I'm forever indebted to you. And now we're going on to 50,000. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If there's something you want to get through, absolutely, to make sure I comment on it, please super chat. Otherwise, I'll try to get to as many of the comments in chat as we can, but the super chats are the way to go to make sure you get something read and to make sure that I respond to it. Oh, entry requires, do you see Alan Dershowitz as being way overrated? No, as an appellate lawyer, he is an amazingly fantastic. I'm sorry to laugh. There's a reason I'm laughing. No, he was an amazingly fantastic appellate lawyer. He's just hands down. He's one of the best appellate lawyers out there. And he was standing there in the wings. I mean, now he's just kind of gone. He's old. He's like a bajillion years old. Is he still alive? Yeah, he's still alive. I think. I'm sure. I think. I don't know. I think he's still alive. But yeah, I mean, he's like ancient now. So maybe not so much now, but back then he was one of the best. He was one of the best appellate lawyers around. I was laughing because statuesque missed that the black bag had a paternity test for Chloe. It had to disappear. That's just harsh. Lisa, 25,000. Congrats. You're one of the best on the platform. You should be over 1 million. Oh God, would I even want 1 million? Oh yeah. I mean, I probably would want 1 million, but I wouldn't want to work for the million. But thank you for the sentiment anyway. That's deeply, deeply appreciated. Make sure I've cleared all these super chats. It looks like it. Yeah, the last one was Brandon Lesko's stabbing hat. All right, we are up to date and we are still going. So let's bring it back up. Let's continue with these. Now, I'm kind of getting concerned at this point. Like I said, the morning session, he had an absolute A. Johnny Cochran had an absolute A for the way he was presenting. Oh, God. All right. Just he got an absolute A for the way he presented his case. He presented the opening statement in an absolute A+ fashion. But after lunch, now he's kind of slowed down. He's talking a little slow. He's talking a little quieter. He's talking more scientific stuff. He's getting a little boring. So he's kind of dropping down a little bit. That has me concerned. He's sort of falling off a little bit in his presentation. Is he going to pick it up, or is he going to spend the next hour and 20 minutes kind of mumbling his way through to a conclusion? But before we find that out, Brandon Lesko, $100 super chat, and we all know what that means. Ugh. According to retailers, the most popular Halloween mask this year is OJ Simpson, and the most popular Halloween greeting is "I'll yeet you and that guy who is bringing over your glasses or treat." Solid take, Brendan. Solid take. I'll yeet you and the guy who's bringing over your glasses or treat. And actually, back in 1995, when all of this was going on, the OJ Simpson mask literally was the most popular Halloween mask that year. Oh God, I didn't expect Brandon to show up, but I came loaded for bear, and of course, as Brandon's generous super chatting ways goes and knows, I have two whiskeys on hand. We have the very, very smoky peaty Ardbeg Crory Vrecken, or we have the Amber Heard Cask Strength Maker's Mark. What's it going to be, Brendan? Tell me in the chat. Which is the shot? What am I doing? What am I doing for the money? You've put the dollar in my G-string. Now what do I have to do to earn it? Maker's Mark or Peaty Smoky Ardbeg? Tick tock, tick tock. The talk is clicking. The clock is ticking. Brandon Lesko says Maker's Mark, keep it classy. Yeah. Nobody knows where this bottle's been except Amber Heard. This was the bottle that she said she'd been savaged with, that she didn't know if it was broken or not. I guarantee you'd know it. All right. Thank you, Brandon Lesko. There we go. We have our it's not our mega pint, it's our mini pint. To Brandon Lesko. Cheers. Thank you very much. And I hope this is the start of a drunken evening. Cheers, all. Oh, God. Here we go. Okay. Oh, by the way, that's cask strength. I forgot that was the cask strength. Oh, God. Most Maker's Mark is like 40, like I think it's 46%. It is like almost 60% alcohol. I forgot about that. Ooh. Thank you. Thank you very much, Brandon Lesko. Wow. All right. I'm awake now. That's just burning its way down. Oh, yeah. Should have remembered that. Oh, but it's Maker's Mark has such an amazing cherry flavor. Just lots of sweet, bright cherries. But the Maker's Mark cask strength sort of tastes like cherry cough syrup. Whew, thanks. All right. Wow. I don't know what to say other than thank you so incredibly much, Brandon. It's good to have you here.
So looking at the evidence.
Shit. Sorry. Oops. Is it? Oh, yeah. We're only an hour in. Shouldn't swear so much. Execution says, hey, thank you so much. Thanks so much, by the way, for the super chat. Here you say, if we're paying you, does this make us your boss? No, it's an independent contractor. It makes me your whore. All right, just let's go.
Rockingham. And then there's this Rockingham glove.
All right, let's back up to hear a little bit about the glove here.
Has or whatever. So looking at the evidence at Rockingham, and then there's this Rockingham glove that's supposedly found in an area that you saw some pictures about yesterday. Mr. Simpson's home. It's a very, very narrow pathway on the side of his house. Whew. You saw the pictures of this glove, which was on top of some leaves. There will be no testimony, as I understand it, about any blood drops leading to and from that. As I expect the evidence will show, there's a fence right up there close by this blood drop. This pathway leads basically to a backyard area that's kind of basically enclosed. I think there's maybe a gate on one side. I think the evidence will show if somebody wanted to come in the house on that side, and you'll see this when you go out there, there are at least 2 doors on that side that somebody could go right inside the house by climbing over a fence or anything of that nature. You will see the evidence. And again, you will be the one who can help make those facts. But with regard to this glove, which was, and then again, I think that, let me try to set the record straight for you. This glove was not found by them or the officers or whatever. This glove was found by Detective Fuhrman. He found it, and he then individually took these other officers back there, supposedly to see it. They had supposedly brought a photographer over there to take pictures of it. Although you didn't hear that yesterday, those are the facts as I understand them. As I said, there's no blood trail to these leaves. The leaves don't appear to be disturbed. There's no evidence of any hairs, fibers on this fence. And there was testimony, will be testimony, I believe, there are cobwebs in this area beyond this glove. Presumably one could infer that nobody had been back there for some period of time and knocked those cobwebs.
That's another thing. That's a thing. The glove that they found behind the house, they found it in the middle of the wall in the room where Cato Kalin was. That's where he was staying. That's why Cato Kalin's testimony is weird and is like beach surfer dude as it was. It was important because the glove was found back there, but on either side there were spider webs that hadn't been disturbed, as if someone had just thrown it over the fence. And then mysteriously Mark Fuhrman says, "Oh, look over there, a glove." Yes, there was cobwebs back there on either side of the way that were undisturbed. Dun, dun, dun. But as Michael says, OJ never asked anything about what happened. This is the counterpoint. This is the counterpoint. Also, OJ never asked anything about what happened to Nicole when they told him she was dead. Wouldn't you normally say what happened, where, how? It could have been a car accident or anything. Yeah, you'd think that, but that doesn't really show guilt one way or the other. And I mean, I do admit I have very close friends that if you called me right now and said that they had died, I would go, okay, not unexpected the way they live their life. Oh, dear Lord in heaven. There was... And also Zen said, yeah, Michael, not only that, but he asked if the kids had seen the murder, but wasn't worried about whether or not they were okay. Didn't care about the fact that Nicole died, just whether or not it. Dramatic pause. No end of sentence. Yeah, but again, this doesn't go to innocence or guilt. It just goes to him being a shitty human who didn't like his ex-wife. Yes. Cobwebs. And oh dear God. Here we go. It's gonna be one of these nights, is it? Brandon, let's go at it again. The Pope came out with a book this week. Rackets came out with the Pope book this week, which contains a series of essays examining faith and morality in today's secular world and the changing of the Catholic Church. As it approaches the 21st century, the book is entitled "God Himself Told Me That OJ is Guilty." Weirdly, that holds more weight than Michael's arguments. Sorry, Michael Palmer, just joking. Zen said, sorry, it was too long. He had to break that comment up. I missed the second part of it. Whether it was witnessed by the kids. Okay. Oh, it was right after that. Okay. I didn't see that. Oh, Lord. Fuck. I mean, intercourse. It's still too early to say the F word. Just intercourse. This is cask strength. So this is like 2 shots. I'm just kind of going to take it semi-slowly. I'm going to give it a semi-swallow. Just a semi. It's just a semi here. Oh, Lord. And I have a rum-based dark and stormy chaser. So had I known Brandon was coming, I would have brought some sort of water over here, but oh well. Cheers to Michael Palmer and his wacky theories about why OJ is guilty. Just kidding. You know, love all the viewers. Thank you so much again, Brandon Lesko. I've apparently driven 1 subscriber away, as we have 25,003 subscribers at the moment. The Lord has entered the trial, statue as Misk. Say hallelujah. The Lord is on our side. He's given Brandon Lesko the inspiration to be giving me the shots we've got to be doing. He's going to tell you the OJ did it. OJ could not have done this all by himself, but he was there and he did it. Hallelujah. And 1 shot. Oh. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Let's go.
Cobwebs down. With regard to this glove, there's also on this glove a Caucasian hair on this glove that does not match the hair of either Nicole Brown Simpson or Ronald Goldman. And Ms. Clark told you yesterday that how samples are collected and who collects them are unimportant. I alluded to this briefly, but we think that the evidence will show that the Nobel Peace Prize winner who invented this technology will tell you it is of paramount importance how this is collected because of the sensitive nature, how very small. You can't even see some of these samples. You'll hear that testimony from Dr. Carrie Mullis. You will also hear testimony.
God damn it. We're not going to get through this, are we? I love what Johnny Cochran's doing. It's like, well, this is how they collected it, but our Nobel Peace Prize winning dude that invented the testing is going to tell you how they screwed up. That's ballin', dude. When you can literally say our expert witness who won the damn Nobel Prize for science and invented this shit will tell you how they screwed it up. Oh, no. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. All right. Everybody chill out just for a second. Oh, yeah, exactly, Brandon. Let's go. I'm going to start seeing 4 murders at the defense table soon. Let me finish Brandon's. Let's go, Brandon. You guys have no idea how strong this cask strength maker's mark is. I'm switching over to Ardbeg. Oh, fuck me. Ardbeg Corey Vrecken is also 57.1%. I've got a 40. Is this 40% rum? I've got the rum. I made the dark and stormy. Okay, this is 40% rum. I think I'll stick with the. No, I have to get through the. Oh, shut up, Jeff. Just drink the damn drink. All right, I'm gonna step it down. We'll do a bottle kill here with the Ardbeg smoky. Oh, I can't do that in a shot though. That would literally rip my insides out. As Brandon said, keep it classy. Stay away from the super peaty scotch. X-Comer. Ugh. With the awesome tinfoil hat picture of me. No water, you say? Sounds like a plan. Aha, fooled you. I have 2 liters of Coke right here. So that will be my lubricant. But all right, let's do a shot of rum. A nice dark aged rum. And then may we please get back to the murderer, because Michael Palmer needs more reasons to tell me why I'm wrong. Cheers. Thank you so much, Xcomer. I appreciate the support you've given me over the past 4 months. It means a lot. You support me. Brandon Lesko just tries to kill me. So there you go. Not by my choice. Okay, let me tell you something. After having, oh God, after having this cask strength Maker's Mark, that 40% rum just tastes like water. Oh, ugh. Wow. All right. Whew. Where is the rum from? This is plantation rum from Barbados. It's plantation rum from Barbados. I have some Havana Club Maestro Selección back there that is the freaking bomb, and there's no way in hell I'm gonna shoot that. So thank you so much, you two. CMR, thank you so much, you three. I mean, you two, Brandon and Xcomer. All right, let's please dive back into this before all of my subscribers and abandon me, and before all of my viewers go, what the fuck am I watching here? I'm just watching some idiot drink. Well, that's what you get when you come to Legal Vices. You get a lot of legal vices. All right, shut up and let's get back to the stream here. Yes, it's slavery rum.
From Dr. John Gertis, another leading expert from Denver, who we expect will come testify.
Rose, I don't have
Seems to
water.
me that
I just have Coke.
any attempt to
But before I can drink the Coke, I have to finish
evidence to
the
make
rum.
It seem as though PCR technology and DNA and RFLP is easy to understand. It's very complex. I think from both sides, we want to do everything we can to make this as clear as possible.
It's just
think
called
that you will hear
plantation
testimony.
rum.
And I ask you, of course, to keep an open mind as you hear the experts on both sides, and I think you'll get a clear picture of this particular evidence.
He's slowing
Mentioned
down.
before this crime scene,
He's losing his steam.
and the number of people who were allowed to walk through there, many with just their shoes on, walking right through the blood. Some who had those little booties on. Some had gloves.
We like
some
those
didn't
little
have
booties.
gloves. Picking up the evidence, this will become very relevant and important to you as you hear from the experts about the contamination aspect of this and what it means, how easy it is.
I'll get to that in a
sneeze,
bit.
A touch, whatever, for this evidence to become contaminated. You'll hear about this new technology. But you'll hear also that the expert who invented it doesn't believe it's being properly and appropriately applied, and it's not ready, perhaps, in a forensic sense to be used. That is, to be used at a crime scene and then brought to court.
Isn't this
Mr.
weird?
Clark talked to you yesterday
This
about
is like
the medical uses of
The
it.
early
We
days
talked
of
about
DNA
amniocentesis.
evidence.
And that was nice. But in amniocentesis, you have known individuals. You know who the father and the mother are. At least you better know who they are. I was hoping that when you take the fluid, you know that. In a lab, a clean setting, it's not like a crime scene or whatever, you will hear the distinction. As I said before, this 21st century cyberspace technology used by people poorly trained in the field. We're using like 19th century techniques to collect it. Ms. Clark mentioned to us yesterday about Jurassic Park. It's not a movie. It's just not, you can't, and it'd be fantasy to think that you could take.
That was pretty fucking stupid of her to be talking about. It's like Jurassic Park. I mean, like I just said, it's weird that this was the early days of DNA. This is one of the earliest, one of the first DNA test cases. I mean, it's just wild to think the things we can do with DNA now didn't exist in 1995. 27 years ago. How much has science progressed in just 27 years? That's what's fascinating. DNA, and that's why the jury was lost. I've said that before. I mean, apart from all of the the racist planting evidence, apart from the things that just don't make sense, apart from the glove that doesn't, apart from all of that, I clearly remember I was in law school when this happened. It started at in the second semester of my 2L year, my second year law school, went through the summer, and it continued into the first semester of my third year of law school. I literally believe I can't think of a single minute of this trial I didn't watch either live or on videotape. Remember those? But I told so many people, and I talked to so many people about this. The trial was lost when the prosecution spent 2 weeks talking in great detail about DNA evidence. They have 12 ignorant slobs on the jury. They're just randos off the street, basically. And they spent 2 weeks talking deep science about an essentially unheard of technology at that point. And they lost the jury. I mean, you put on 2 weeks of DNA testimonies, this intense, detailed, very highly specific and technical scientific stuff that makes sense to scientists. They get it. And I mean, now we would look at it and just laugh, but back then it was wizardry. You were literally talking Jurassic Park shit to these people. And all they know is they didn't understand a goddamn thing that happened for 2 weeks talking about that DNA evidence. But what they understood was Johnny Cochran going, "If the glove don't fit, you must have quit." They go, okay, they talked about all this scientific shit, but the glove isn't fitting. The glove doesn't fit. And that's what sticks in their mind. And originally, Darden he did not want to have OJ put the glove on, but Johnny Cochran goaded him into it. He egged him into making that fatal mistake of putting the glove on. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the scientific, the theoretical scientific evidence you put on. These numbers, like 1 in a trillion, that means nothing. What is a trillion? We can't wrap our minds around it. I'm starting to sound like Good Logic Joe here. We can't wrap our minds around trillion. We can't wrap our mind around the trillion, but what we can wrap our mind around is a guy who supposedly can't get a glove onto his hand. So yeah, this DNA stuff was so new and fresh that it was literally wizardry to the jury at that point. And fuck me. In a brilliant move during closing arguments, Simpson attorney Johnny Cochran, nice spelling there, by the way, put on the knit cap prosecutors say OJ wore the night he allegedly committed the murders. OJ heard his case when he suddenly blurted out, hey, easy with that. That's my lucky stabbing hat. Brandon, you're on fire tonight. That's good. Hey, easy with that. That's my lucky stabbing hat. Oh, Lord have mercy, because right on the heels of that is from Brandon Lesko. Oh, I see the exchange rate is sucking in your country too. Yeah, it's sucking hard in Korea. $100 is $100 anywhere, but when you get out of the $100 area, the exchange rate is sucking hard these days. If I was Alex Jones. If I was on the Alex Jones jury, I'd be really mad that the plaintiffs are wasting so much time on totally irrelevant stuff like Ukraine. Why? Yep, exactly. Yep. Execution says, Brandon Excomer fixing to kill Jeff. I am 2 down. We'll get to it. All right. Again, I just wanted to rant on this DNA thing because this is so fascinating. This stuff with the DNA, like I said, it was wizardry. They blew it. And here he's talking about this. Like we know you're not going to understand anything, but don't worry. We have the guy that invented the goddamn tests on here. So no worries. We'll get you. Well, and Lawrence asked, do we know what OJ paid for his defense? And I mean, that's always the thing. Oh, you can buy your freedom. You can buy your innocence. You can get lawyers. You can buy. I've said it before and I'll say it again and I'll continue saying it to my death. The prosecution has virtually unlimited funds. If you have money, all you can do is level the playing field. Try to level the playing field. And when the auditors got done with the OJ Simpson trial, they determined that the Los Angeles County had paid $9 million to prosecute OJ Simpson. They spent $9 million taxpayer dollars to prosecute him. How much did OJ Simpson spend? Estimates are between how much did his lawyers charge? Estimates are between $5 and $6 million. He still was out financed by 1/3, and he still managed to at least level the playing field enough to raise reasonable doubt. Paula Williams asks a very important question. Did OJ pay? No, not really. That's the thing. He stiffed his lawyers. It may have been Alan Dershowitz. It may have been somebody else, but one of the lawyers came forward and said he got about 2% of what he had billed. Because you've got this thing that OJ says, I didn't do it. He's found innocent. And immediately the civil trial starts for the wrongful death. If he's got money to pay his lawyers, he's got money to pay the judgment. So he kind of sort of had to stiff his lawyers from a dirtbag standpoint. But yeah, he stiffed his lawyers for a huge chunk, like almost all of the fees that he owed them, essentially. That's how I understand it. Because I remember someone saying he got about 2% of their fees. Yeah, so there you go. Money does not buy you innocence. Money does its best to level the playing field against a prosecution with virtually unlimited finances. Oh, Michael, see you people later. Can't stomach this shit. Like I said, they could have had CCTV cameras clearly showing OJ committed these murders, and these jurors would have called it an imposter. It's nullified. Well, I mean, see, this is the thing. Again, don't go. Stick around. I mean, listen to what they're arguing. Whether he did it or not, again, is not. I mean, it's important if you're the Goldman family, obviously, and Nicole Brown Simpson's family, but from a legal point of view, and that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at the legal aspects of the legal arguments. Did the prosecution meet their burden of proof? Did they counter? Did they fuck up? Did they fuck up so epically that their mistakes allowed a guilty person to walk? Or were they unable to prove it because he was innocent? The underlying did he do it or not is not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is, did the prosecution do their job? And I mean, Michael, your views are valid. They're important. And I mean, honestly, I agree with some of them. But what we're looking at is the legal aspect of it. There's a burden of proof to meet before you throw someone in jail for the rest of their life. And let's assume completely that he did it. He walked in, he somehow took out 2 people quietly, stealthily, hid all the blood, got away, and he did it. Let's just assume OJ Simpson did it. The reason we hold the prosecution to the same standard of reasonable doubt in this situation is because there are innocent people in the same situation that the prosecution is going to come after because they rushed to judgment, because they think they know who did it, and rather than rather than the police investigating who did it, they put their sights on one person, and then they sort of develop their investigation and their evidence around their idea to support this one person. A person that is innocent, because we hold the prosecution in the OJ Simpson trial to the same standard, that protects the innocent people. If we let the prosecution get away with shady shit, with half-assed arguments, with improperly collected evidence, with clearly racist officers planting evidence, if we let them get away with that, when it comes your turn, or anybody else's turn to be wrongfully accused, we are still going to maintain that same standard. That's kind of the end of that rant. Stick around, Michael. We'd love to have you here. You're providing a good counterpoint, and I don't necessarily disagree with a lot of what you're saying. But let's focus on the prosecution and their job. That's what I'm after here. That's the reason I'm going through this, is to look at the prosecution's job. I hope you're still here. If you've gone, well, sorry. But we've got 2 shots to go through. We've got Brendan's shot and we've got Comer's shot. So we'll start the video. We'll start with oh, scared me to death. God damn it. I was going to say Diamonds and Henna scared me to death with his red, because the red super stickers are exactly the same color in my view as the like $100 level super chats. And so I'm like, oh my God, I have another one. But then I was so happy it was just her cake super chat. And then literally 2 comments later is Comer coming again. Thank you so much, Diamonds and Henna. You gave me a heart attack, and then I relaxed, and then I had a heart attack 2 messages later. When Comer, what's that sound? It's your shot glass crying for attention. Yeah, wait a minute. I'm backed up 3 deep here. Let's get on with this. Otherwise, we're going to be here all damn night. We'll get through them. I'll make a big deal out of it. We're just fuck me. We're gonna go through the rum and the Ardbeg and whatever else is here. Fine. All right, let's get back to the DNA argument that he's making right now. And seriously, Michael, I hope you're still here.
Techniques to collect it. Ms. Clark mentioned to us yesterday about Jurassic Park. It's not a movie. It's just not. You can't. And it would be fantasy to think that you could take and make dinosaurs with DNA. Nobody's done that. That's a movie. It's not real life. She talked to us about the czars in Russia and that sort of thing. Well, it's one thing to look for bones. There is a technology that you hear about was not used in this case. It's a different technology altogether. Some kind of sequential DNA testing. Mitochondrial. And I won't bore you with the term. That's not used, but the experts will tell you that's not relevant to the proceedings here, what was done here.
2 down. I mean, 1 down, 2 to go.
With regard to the claim that every effort was made to exclude Mr. Simpson, we think the evidence will show that that's not what happened in this case. We have to keep an open mind. We think the evidence will show that when test results pointed away from Mr. Simpson, they concluded that something must be wrong with the test. Our experts will tell you that there are huge interpretation problems with many of the tests performed in this case. This is particularly true where there are mixed samples.
Number 2.
Containing blood or other biological material from more than one person. We expect to show that the results of some of the tests in this case are so ambiguous that 2 different scientists will come to 2 different conclusions with the same results. As I said earlier, given Mr. Simpson's statement to the police, the evidence of any blood in the Bronco is far more consistent.
We did that back in the day, once upon a time, long ago.
The fact that there's almost no blood of anyone else, if any, in that Bronco is just the opposite of what you'd expect if somebody committed a crime and used that vehicle.
Final shot, Comer, we're going with the Ardbeg, then I'm all caught up.
Now, to conclude then with regard to my discussion of Ms. Clark's opening statement, a number of things were said to you yesterday, and Judge Ito at the end of the day asked you to keep an open mind. As I thought about this case last night, I was concerned, just for a moment, as I thought about, well, we didn't get a chance to talk to them yet, through circumstances beyond our control. But what quickly came to my mind was the fact that the jury that we tried to work and pick since September has been so patient, would keep an open mind. And I'm sure you've done that. That's all we're
I have
asking.
no idea at this point.
Not only from last night to
all
today,
I know is I'm caught up.
but until you hear the end of the case. Because you remember, part of what I'm saying to you today is that the case won't be over if you've heard all the evidence and the summations by the lawyers. And all of you have said that would be unfair. Make up your mind before that. And I think both sides would agree with that. In her conclusion yesterday, she'd indicated that something about it was devastating proof of something other, if you remember. It seems to me, as I thought about what she said, that the fact that there is no blood where there should be blood is devastating evidence of innocence. And we'll be talking more about this, that the fact that blood voluntarily given by a defendant mysteriously disappears when it should be there is devastating evidence that something is wrong. And finally, it seems to me that the fact that blood mysteriously appears on vital pieces of evidence, and it's predicted what the results will be regarding DNA when that evidence is still in the police lab, is devastating evidence of something far more sinister. Now let's turn our attention again, if we could, to the laser disc showings. Let me start.
laser disc. They burn shit on laser discs for this trial. Oh my Lord in heaven. Remember laser discs, like the LP things? Laser discs were expensive. Now you're saying I'm still one shot behind. I was caught up. Then we had this one. I did one. And then I did another rum shot for this one. And then Diamonds and Henna scared me. And then I just did this one with the Ardbeg. I'm caught up. Why are y'all telling me I'm dying? You're the same people that made me do my 15th shot 3 times last time. If I'm one shot behind, you gotta prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. But yes, yeah, laser discs, OMG. Seriously? Don't screw with me. My brain is going away right now. If I actually am, I am. But if I'm not one shot behind, please don't mess with my brain. I can't take it at this point. Whatever. All right. Back to the laser disc technology in the post Jurassic Park times.
This part of the presentation quickly by showing you again some trails that lead to innocence that weren't pursued by the prosecution team. And Your Honor, I'll be, what we got? Let me call up. Oh, we got Mr. Douglas, can you retrieve the envelope?
I'm team statuesque misc. In the court of legal vices, we stand for the truth. Come on, you two, get your shit together. Talk. Uh-oh, it's a sidebar time.
Cochran, you may continue.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. I think we were, just before we get to the disc showings, I just would indicate to you that I expect there'll be evidence, as I've indicated to you somewhat already. There was an intensive search in Mr. Simpson's home, looking for any kind of a weapon, presumably a knife of any kind. And I think that during the course of the trial, there'll be evidence that'll become very relevant to you with regard to this entire area and the people's theory.
Okay, we have to go back one step.
Knives. Now, we've now moved on, Your Honor, to report dealing with the...
This was during the
fingernail.
white Bronco chase. He reportedly had a gun and was potentially suicidal.
B1A.
Michael Palmer makes it, but that
I had talked to you earlier about
That
this
is-
analyzed evidence report.
anecdotal
This is the actual report of the
indications of
substance
potential
found
guilt.
under Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's fingernails.
Guilty conscience. It does speak to that. You're suicidal because someone killed your wife. What about your kids? I don't think it's normal to contemplate suicide. I mean, self-deletion. Sorry, we're not 2 hours into this yet. If you want to find the SOB who did it, yeah, well, he tried to find the SOB who did it by going to the golf courses. But again, it does speak to a guilty conscience. I
84A and
absolutely
84B, I
agree
think
with
the
you.
18A is a
But the
typo.
prosecution
Could not have come
didn't
from
do their
Nicole Brown
job,
Simpson,
I think.
Ronald Goldman, or OJ Simpson, as I indicated to you earlier.
And thank you not
Harris.
leaving, Michael Palmer. You're a good man. We love to have you here.
There is the next photograph that's coming up. Now, just a second.
Oh, come on, guys. Tony not being
You need
phased
reporter.
by whatever they're arguing about.
84A, the graphics into the record. I'm not sure that our court report is getting all these. It's item 84A and 84B.
Oh,
It says
James
18A,
Andrew
which I
Morrison is
understand
a
the typo,
Geordie.
Could not have come from
I didn't know
Nicole
that.
Brown Simpson, Ronald Goldman, or OJ Simpson. Now, there's another, the next one coming up. I was going to ask Ms. Clark. You may want to hit your kill switch on this next one, just briefly. All right. This next photograph is what I alluded to earlier, of the blood on Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's back, and it's an indication that testimony is from our expert.
Geordie's
This
rock, because I've seen
blood
Alan
on her
Partridge.
back in that position was, in fact, never preserved, neither by the LAPD nor the coroner's office, and was, in fact, wiped off, and never preserved or saved. Thank you, Mr. Harris. To conclude, then, Ms. Clark's opening statement, I'd like now to move to a discussion of what I expect the evidence to show vis-a-vis the defense in this matter. You may have asked yourself, in hearing this evidence this far, who then is OJ Simpson? That's an answer that will come hopefully during the course of this trial. I can tell you that the evidence will show that he is a 47-year-old man, father of 4. In many respects, he's the living embodiment of the American dream. I think that you will hear testimony and evidence about certain other things you don't know about OJ Simpson that may become relevant during these proceedings. There will be testimony that OJ Simpson suffers with chronic rheumatoid arthritis.
And as Michael should point out,
Rheumatoid arthritis doctors.
he stopped taking his
when
arthritis medicine
He's in remission.
before the trial.
He can function fairly well, but when it's an acute phase,
Like
he
right
has
around
great
the
trouble
time
functioning.
to turn the to
We
put the
expect
glove
there will
on.
be testimony that on the date of June 12th, Mr. Simpson was involved in the acute phase of his rheumatoid arthritis. And on that date, after he had played golf, the problems with his hands were so severe he could not shuffle the cards where he played gin rummy at the country club thereafter. We expect that will be, the evidence will be adduced. You will hear from several of his doctors who are on our witness list to further buttress the fact that he was in an acute phase of this rheumatoid arthritis shortly after he came into custody. Mr. Simpson had surgery in which some lymph nodes were removed.
What a
These
great
lymph
sound.
nodes were caused by the rheumatoid arthritis, contain white blood cells. In addition to that, I alluded to the fact earlier that he was
Coke
perhaps the greatest
ASMR.
running back in the history of the NFL, with all kind of records. But you pay a price, and the evidence will talk about that price that he paid. On his left knee, he's had 4 surgeries. We expect you'll hear from his doctor about the effect of those 4 surgeries, about the effect of what he has in addition to the chronic or acute rheumatoid arthritis. He has osteoarthritis in his legs. The evidence will be he suffers with rheumatoid arthritis in both of his wrists.
He can't jerk off.
And so things are not as they always seem. And as you see him sitting there now, he does in fact have problems with movement. There will be testimony that he plays golf, but he can no longer play tennis. that when he plays golf, he always has to use a golf court. Can't walk 18 holes. Expect there'll be testimony that he's perhaps one of the only few people in the world who's able to use a golf court at Pebble Beach because his doctor had to write such a letter. And so I'd like to demonstrate that for you, the extent of his knees, and say to you that what no NFL, National Football League defense could do, Mother Nature and Father Time have taken their toll. Doesn't mean he can't move around, but I think there'll be evidence of the limitations now imposed upon him by virtue of his career, by virtue of this disease that he suffers. And I'd like at this point to have Mr. Simpson come over to the jury so I can demonstrate the problem with his knees.
Now this is all absolutely, completely irrelevant. Now, this is a point that I will give to Michael Palmer. This whole deal is like, oh, his knees are bad, so he couldn't have murdered two people, is just for show. This is just to say, oh, he's a decrepit old man who couldn't possibly do anything. And this was actually a big fight between the prosecution and the defense in motions and sidebars and things. They were saying they could only show his knee surgeries and his knee conditions as demonstrative evidence to show that he had these particular surgeries or he had these particular problems. But it literally doesn't have anything to do with whether or not he killed people. Now we as Baked Alaska said a few minutes ago, Judge Ito was a train wreck. OJ lawyers overwhelmed him with motions. I think, again, I've talked about this before. I think Judge Ito made virtually all, like the vast majority of his rulings were correct. But although I think the vast majority of his decisions and his rulings were correct, he caught the fame bug a little bit as the trial went on, which wasn't good. Although he continued to make correct decisions, more and more the trial started to focus around him, I think. And that's where my problem with Judge Ito lies. And this is one of the things we see like different between how judges acted back then when this was a brand new concept of having cameras in the courtroom, and now where it's not so uncommon, where there's cameras in the courtroom in a lot of cases, and the camera is not panning around and focusing on the judge and focusing on people in the audience. I mean, I think now lawyers are a lot more able to deal with and equipped to deal with the cameras in the courtroom, and the judges are as well. But Ito kind of caught the fame bug. So a lot of people remember him as being a dick. I don't think it was because of his rulings. It was just because of the way he was sucking up to the fame bug. Like you'll notice on his desk, I mean, this is only the opening statement, so it doesn't hear, but as we go along, like he had this hourglass thing, and fans of Judge Ito would send him hourglasses. And by the end of the trial, he had this massive hourglass collection, which is something a judge shouldn't have because of the popularity on TV. He just caught the fame bug a little bit, but his rulings were okay. Brandon Lesko says, you didn't read my chat. I know. I'm going to read it right now. I was just trying to delay it as much as possible. Hang on. Ugh. The bottom of your glass must have more holes in it than Nicole and Ron did. There, you happy? Are you happy, Brandon? Are you happy with your comedy, your humor? You're living in a van down by the river. Best fill it up with Makers again. God damn it. Now, Brandon, you have to understand that this Makers is cask strength. It's like really, really, really high alcohol content. Oh my God. There's no way in hell I'm shooting this. I'm going to slowly suck on it until it's gone. Thank you very much. Rockwell says Korean Coke. That's my chaser. Korean Coke. Weirdly, just because of the carbonation, in the US, I like Coke more than Pepsi, but in Korea, I prefer Pepsi more than Coke. But my local convenience store was out of Pepsi for some weird reason. And what, demonetized because of Coke? Nah. Alan says legal vices get to the $1,000 in super chats. No, that's not a goal to shoot for. This isn't Drunk Stream Friday. This is just like Random Wednesday. Please don't hurt me. This is for water. Thank you, Cherry Ad and Max, but I literally don't have any water, so my water right here now is Coke. Oh, but it doesn't help. All right. Let's get back into it. And again, seriously, Michael Palmer, I'm glad you're still here. Thank you for not leaving. Just stick with it. Just stick with it. You are entitled to your opinion as much as I am and anybody else is.
I could with Ms. Deputy McNair.
Uh-oh. I've lost 2 more subscribers. We're down to 25,001. Oh, OJ's coming in for the kill. OJ's coming in for the kill. Don't let him close to the jury. He's just showing his knees. And this is totally done for demonstrative purposes to show that he's had some knee surgery.
In the back row, if you want to stand up, feel free to do so.
For the record, so the court can't see it, but Mr. Simpson is demonstrating for the jurors his left knee, and I think there's an indication that there are scars going up and down, sideways. There's one behind.
Okay, so he's had a lot of surgery. That doesn't mean he can kill. He can't kill people.
He's 4 surgeries on that particular knee. While you are here, Mr. Simpson, I would like for your honor to.
I've shattered my right femur and I've broken both of my arms at the same time, and I can still kill people.
Yes.
Just saying.
I can't mark this as an exhibit, but I can at least do it. To show his middle finger of his left hand.
Now, he caught the fame bug, not the game bug.
Let me caution the photographers to use extreme caution.
Yes, sure.
He started to get a little testy. Judge Ito started to get a little bit famous. They were doing skits about Judge Ito on Saturday Night Live, and he was doing things that showed that he was liking the fame.
All right. Thank you, counsel.
But I still think his rulings were solid. It was just his rulings were sort of somewhat sullied or tainted or questioned because of the fact he was chasing the fame
with regard
bug.
to his left knee and the condition I told you about. Mr. Simpson is dyslexic. He suffered
What?
dyslexia all of his life.
I don't remember that.
You know what that is, where he tends to, when reading.
What, he's dyslexic, so he stabbed them with the wrong hand of his knife? I don't know what him being dyslexic has to do with anything.
Things get reversed and transposed and backwards.
So he meant to kill them with his right hand, but he accidentally killed them with his left hand. And this isn't your strongest argument, Johnny Cochran. Execution says, okay, I'm ready to go play. I've got the machete from OJ. I'm ready to make everyone's throat ache. You're sick. But thank you for the super chat.
All of that. As I've said, you see what he's done with his life. I think the next area we'll deal with, and Mr. Douglas will put the diagrams up. You've heard and will hear testimony that on the evening of June 12th, 1994, Mr. Simpson had a trip.
Did I accidentally cite Eminem?
To Chicago,
What?
Illinois on American Airlines. The plane was due to leave at about 11:45.
What did I
In
do?
fact, it did leave around that time. Mr. Simpson got to the airport.
Oh, come on. What did I say? Wait. Time out. I know several Eminem lyrics, but what did I just do? Did I accidentally quote Eminem lyrics? Oh, this? These are Eminem lyrics. All right. Oh, I'm elderly. You'll have to tell me what Eminem song that is. Like I said, I know a few Eminem songs. He's one of the few rappers I can actually listen to, but I don't really listen to the lyrics because whatever. All right. I'm an old fuck and I don't understand you young people. What's the name of the song? And I'll listen to it. Give me the title of the Eminem song. I will listen to it. Kill You from the Marshall Mathers LP. All right. I will do my due diligence and I will listen and I will become educated. What is this? Is this like a boat with the slave trade on it? What the hell is that? Oh, it's the wow. Okay, we got to figure. I don't remember him like going into like this is where he sat on the airplane. So this is important shit. Whatever. I still have your shot here. Thankfully for you, I'm just gonna put play, and I don't have the rackets. I got to take a piss song, so I'll just play and then I'll come right back. But cheers as we go into the weird thing about American Airlines.
Yeah, Coach. And what we seek to illustrate here is his demeanor and all the people on the plane and their relevance to this particular case. We expect there will be testimony that he was one of the last people to board the plane that particular evening, headed east to Chicago. That he took a seat, and he was fortunate enough to be sitting in first class, and that sitting very close to him, a young man by the name of Steve Valerie, and I believe you will hear testimony. Steve Valerie was very impressed that he was sitting next to OJ Simpson. So we had occasion to watch Mr. OJ Simpson, watch his hands. He'll tell you he didn't see any major cuts on his hands or anything of that nature. But he observed his demeanor, observed how he acted, observed how he handled himself during that particular time. That there was a man on this flight by the name of Howard Bingham, a man famous in his own right. It's Muhammad Ali's personal photographer, lives here in Los Angeles. And Howard Bingham was on his way to see Muhammad Ali. He left his seat back here and walked up and had a conversation with Mr. O.J. Simpson. He too will come in and tell you how Mr. Simpson appeared on June 12, 1994. 11:45 to the time that flight got there, Chicago. And there are others, as you might imagine, who've seen him. Particular interest is there's a captain of this flight, Captain Wayne Stansfield.
Hello.
Found out that O.J. Simpson was flying to Chicago. And he came out of the cockpit. You know, you always worry when you see the pilot come out. But I mean, that presumably means there are a couple others who can fly the plane. So he came out and he got Mr. O.J. Simpson's autograph on the flight log. So he had a chance to see his hands, had a chance to observe. He signed autographs as he got out of the limousine for the Sky Caps. Remember, he'd gotten some money so he could give the Sky Caps some money. That'll be testimony that he had $10 or whatever. The Sky Cap had no change, and he gave him that, of course. And you'll hear about this flight. You'll hear about this man's demeanor. You'll hear about how he handled himself, how people watched him during this period of time. Mr. Valerie especially was looking at his hands because he thought that O.J. Simpson would have a championship ring on his hands. So he had occasion to look at him.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Observe him, as did Howard Bingham, who knew him before this time, as did the pilot, and as did all the other people.
Now, those Eminem lyrics, I know. I know
graphic.
those Eminem lyrics.
You think will be relevant to you in the course of the presentation of the evidence?
Hey, let's talk about prepping. Yes, it's time to make everyone's throat sag.
Same graphic, Your Honor. We're not getting numbers.
The first one was 203. This is 204.
Referring to number 204, and you can see the legend is going from east to west.
Oh, God, why do we care about where the fucking plane was going?
Simpson has been told his ex-wife has been
See,
found
this is what I
murdered.
mean. Like he started,
You
and
will
this is the
see
same problem that
difference
Marsha
in this
Clark. I
man's
mean,
demeanor,
Chris
how
Darden's
he
opening
he
statements were
reacted,
just
how
shit.
he handled himself.
They were just off.
The
They
time he
were
got
just
that call,
horrible.
the
Marsha
detective
Clark started out strong
found
with a
out
good narrative, a
his
good
ex-wife had been
theory, and then she
how
just
he
got into
reacted, what he
bogged down
said,
in all this
his
weird
concern
shit.
about his children,
And that's the same thing Johnny
he
Cochran is doing.
called and tried
The
to get the first
morning
flight out
session was
of Chicago.
awesome. It was
They got a flight too
emotional. It
late
was
for him at
engaging.
10 o'clock or
You
something.
were sitting on the edge of your seat.
Insisted on an
You
earlier
were
flight.
wondering about the story.
He
Now
wanted
he's
to come
talking about
directly
fucking
back to
plane
Los
rides
Angeles as soon
to
as possible after
Chicago?
this conversation. He made calls while on the way back from Chicago to Los Angeles, trying to find out what had happened. We'll be calling certainly more than one witness on that flight.
Excuse.
Very interesting. Sitting right next.
This
to
is a
O.J.
true
Simpson,
size
like
pick
that,
of OJ's bits.
is a lawyer by the name of Mark Partridge. Mark Partridge sat with him the entire time.
This
He
is
will
the
come in
original
here as a lawyer in Chicago.
Chewbacca defense. It
Tell
makes
you
no
about
sense.
This man's demeanor. One of the
Exactly.
interesting things about this, I think you'll find, is that whereas Mr. Simpson had no cuts on his hand, the knuckle area that anybody saw that we know of going, when he came back, he had a cut. Which you just saw, remnants on his knuckle, the middle finger. Mr. Partridge saw that. There will be testimony that in the hotel room in Chicago, there's a broken glass, shards of glass in that hotel room. There's blood associated with that glass and with the towel therein. His whole demeanor, as you might expect, had changed. He suffered a terrible loss. Took the first flight back from Chicago here. We think that Mark Partridge, along with other people who may be called, will be very, very relevant in the course of this case. Now, as depressed as he was,
Dildos gone.
people who came in contact with him still didn't know about his tragedy.
What's
People who took
wrong with
offense
you,
to a lot of
statuesque
things
miss?
in this period of time. But he did get back to Los Angeles sometime that day, and he went. We think the evidence will show directly to his home on Rockingham, where he was first of all placed in handcuffs.
By the way, statuesque miss.
Then they were taken off,
Oh wait, hang on. That wasn't it.
and then
This one. Nice
he was
Bob
asked if he
Seger
wanted to
take,
come
by the
downtown
way.
and talk to the police. Maybe not ask, told. So you come downtown and talk to the detectives in this case, Van Adder, Lang.
Oh, it's Pete Seeger. It wasn't Bob Seger.
Voluntarily did that. He had a lawyer there by the name of Howard Weitzman, one of our more prominent lawyers here in Los Angeles. He had his business lawyer, Skip Tapp. But he came home. There were no police at the airport. He came back home. He went downtown. They talked to him in the car.
Lawyer
on the
looks
way
like
downtown.
Mario Van Peebles.
When they got downtown,
He's just waiting for him to make the objection. He's like, and he got downtown. Fucking, this is the 8th time you've interrupted me. All right. Yeah, so we had statuesque Misk with a nice Pete Seeger blast. That was good. Where have all the dildos gone? Nice take on Where Have All the Flowers Gone by Pete Seeger. Execution says lawyer looks like Mario Van Peebles. I know I read that. He doesn't look like Mario Van Peebles. And you know what? You know where I lost all respect for Mario Van Peebles is when he was in Highlander 2. Highlander 1 was the perfect movie. And then you had to make a Highlander 2 and put Mario Van Peebles in it. Shame on you. And this is the 8th time that the prosecution has interrupted the defense's opening statements. And judges don't like this. Jury doesn't like this.
he didn't know what I'm going to say.
I don't know. Well,
He doesn't know what I'm going to say. Right. Shut up.
we can have an offer of proof. My objection now.
Why don't you approach without the reporter, please?
Wow, this is a sidebar with no court reporter and no video. Jeez. All right.
OJ Simpson, as I said, returned home at his residence. He went downtown with the police detectives. He had 2 lawyers who followed him downtown. Howard Weitzman, noted lawyer, and his business lawyer, Mr. Skip Tapp. We think the evidence will show that Mr. Simpson got downtown. His two lawyers will testify, or at least one of them will, that they were told by the police that they could not be present when Mr. Simpson was interviewed. And Mr. Simpson, and the evidence will be, if that happened, that's wrong, it'll be a violation. But Mr. Simpson went ahead and talked to the police without discussing any contents with his lawyers, not in the room, and away. They went someplace else till this interview, 33 minutes, had concluded. We expect that's what the evidence will show in that regard. In this connection, we expect there will be testimony and evidence from a number of witnesses of things that happened that week, not the least of which will be a gentleman by the name of Al Collins. We expect that Mr. Collins, a very dear friend of Mr. Simpson's, will testify along with others about the events of the date of June 17th, 1994. The low-speed pursuit that you all indicate you've heard so much about. We expect there'll be testimony about that when Mr. Collins spoke to the police, they were headed north on the 405 back to Mr. Simpson's home. That on that particular date, among other things, Mr. Simpson had been heavily medicated after the funeral that week, that he wrote some letters, that he called his first wife, Marguerite Simpson, among others.
No, Barry Sheck had lots of innocent, he had lots of big
and
cases.
that he insisted.
But yet,
those
you are correct. The
listen.
Innocence Project blew up way big after this.
But the events of the
Barry
week,
Sheck was an amazingly well-known litigator before this case. That's why he was on the team.
Party counsel.
let me rephrase that. He had a number of conversations with people who were very close to him that week. And I expect the evidence will be that you will hear what he was saying, what his state of mind was, what triggered this low speed.
All right. Do we need to do this again here? Yeah, that right there is Barry Sheck from the Innocence Project. Again, it wasn't his first big case. He'd been involved in huge cases before this. That's why he's part of the dream team, because he is amazing at what he does. And I know I've harped on this a lot, and even today, his dismantling of criminologist Dennis Fung on cross-examination over a period of 8.5 days was single-handedly the best cross-examination I have ever witnessed in my entire life. Number two, incidentally, was Camille Vasquez's cross-examination of Amber Heard, because it was sharp, it was laser focused, and it was to the point. But Barry Sheck is he is an amazing cross-examiner. That's why he was on the dream team. I mean, he became famous because of this trial, but he was well known in legal circles well before this trial. And we'll get to the highlights of his cross-examination of Dennis Fung in a few weeks.
So, expect you'll hear from Mr. Collins. They'd gone down to Orange County to his wife's grave. And that, when the police encountered him, heading north on the 405, they were heading back to the Rockingham address, and that he, in fact, ended up there. One of the things that I would like now to turn.
Project Innocence isn't dealing with Stephen Avery. That's a separate lawyer who she specializes in similar situations, but she's totally unrelated to Project Innocence. Go back and watch my Stephen Avery videos. Talk. Come on, John. Oh, where's Marsha's got to take a bathroom break? Nope, she's going to talk to another lawyer. Let's fast forward through this. Wait. Non-responsive. Aha. All right.
Mr. Ronald Goldman's hand. And you will see, and you've heard, I've indicated to you that there'll be expert testimony from forensic pathologists But the bruises there are an indication that Mr. Goldman's hand and fist came in contact with the perpetrator, that there was blunt force trauma, and that he was able to strike his assailant. There will be other testimony with regard to other wounds on his hand. I think that's relevant because I would like next to have Mr. Harris move to the next photographs. What's the number now? D13. When Mr. Simpson returned to Los Angeles on June 13th,
October 7th. Mark it on your
pictures you're
calendars.
about to see now are pictures taken of his body on June 15th, 1994, and June 17th. These first ones are from June 15th, which was a Wednesday. It's Mr. Simpson. And I want you, hold that a minute, Mr. Harris. I want you to look at
You
Mr.
are
Simpson's
not
face in this
incorrect.
picture. Rather than
Michael
looking
Palmer.
more morose, look at his face in the photograph with his daughter, Sydney. What's the number?
Right. That's what I'm thinking,
two.
statuesque.
100. And this photograph here. We expect that the evidence will be
The next-
there are no
The next
bruises
fucking Friday
on his
will
face
be
or on his body.
it'll be my
Picture was taken on June
25,000
15th,
member celebration stream.
1994. Mr. Harris,
There
will you
won't
go to the
be
next
a
photograph, please?
paranormal stream that day.
D16, another shot of Mr. Simpson's body.
D18. D19.
Ooh.
D20. D21.
The right arm,
D22.
the right hand, and part of the forearm.
D23.
It's the left hand.
D24. D25.
Now, this photograph, the testimony will be, this photograph was taken on Friday, June 17th. And we think that the indication that blood had been taken from him that day by one of his doctors I talked to you about is arthritic
We don't care about his
Doctor and his other
arthritis,
doctors,
Doctor
osteo
Cochran. You're losing the jury. Close it
arthritic
up.
doctor and also his orthopod.
His
had taken blood
orthopod.
from him that day. This is a picture of his right arm.
There's still 40.
Mr. Simpson's
There's still
back.
like 48 minutes left, and he's losing the jury. He had it so
Simpson's
tight
face
during
and teeth.
the pre-lunch testimony, and now he's blowing it with just
Picture of
boring,
a revealing picture of
unrelated
Mr. Simpson,
narrative.
however, to show his entire body.
Ugh. And yes, celebration October 7th, party on my channel. I will be
Simpson's hand.
inviting
And just on
YouTube,
D30, you
LawTube,
can see that
big
kind of
wigs. I don't know if
circular
any of them will show up,
mark
but I'm
there,
going to
which you
invite
saw,
them.
a faint mark there.
Mark it on your
We
calendar.
expect there'll be testimony that with regard to that particular mark there on his middle finger, that there will be testimony among the doctors on our witness list that is in no way a knife cut, that is more consistent with some glass or some shards of glass having made that particular cut.
D31. D32.
Johnny Cochran had an A+ following the morning session.
D33.
Now we're how far? All right, we're about nearing the 2/3 into the afternoon session mark, and he's pulling a solid D now. So you average it out, and you're like a C, like a C+
Now-
at best.
To conclude this particular portion of our discussion, we expect there'll be other evidence of demeanor and pictures. We expect that, although we've heard the police wanted to exclude Mr. Simpson, that when they talk to him on the 12th, I don't think you'll see any pictures taken of his body, except the one picture she showed you yesterday of his hand. But we wanted you to know that there are other pictures. It's part of our part of the case. We have these pictures. We wanted to share them with you. Now, Your Honor, I'm now about to turn my attention to the LAPD and its lab. It may be, I do not now believe with all the interruptions, I'm going to be able to finish today as much as I wanted to, so that whatever Your Honor's pleasure is, this next portion is fairly lengthy.
Well, counsel, I leave it to your professional discretion. Do you think this is an appropriate breaking point?
Yes, let me just take a look here. I think that it is. I'd like to make just a couple statements. I think that it is.
Proceed.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to finish today, ladies and gentlemen, but you can understand the importance of this case to both sides.
And I mean, this tells you how old this case is. Johnny Cochran's dead. Robert Kardashian's dead. F. Lee Bailey's dead. I mean, there's a lot of dead people. This was 27 years ago.
Had a number of interruptions, and I'm sorry it's taken longer. But I'm sure you'd expect nothing less from either side of the lawyers from either side in this case. Tomorrow we'll come back and we will start talking about the police investigation. We'll go through some charts, which hopefully will make the whole subject of DNA a little less complex and confusing. We will talk about the so-called evidence flow in this case. One of the factors, and we'll start at the very beginning of the police investigation and work our way through, determine what they did and how they did it and how it impacts upon this case. The important piece of information that we think the evidence will show, however, is that all of this evidence collected, whether at Bundy or Rockingham or wherever, went through the LAPD lab. And we expect to introduce evidence that from their own records, that laboratory is a cesspool of contamination. Not up to speed, not up to standard. We think we can conclusively indicate that during the course of the testimony in this case. Thank you very much, and I would ask you to keep an open mind until tomorrow, till we have a chance to finish. Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as far as the jury is concerned, then we're going to take our recess for the afternoon. Please remember my admonition to you: don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case. Don't talk to anybody about the case, nor allow yourself to be approached or spoken to with regard to the case. And we will resume again, hopefully with the conclusion of the opening statements tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. As soon as the opening statements have been concluded, I anticipate that we will be calling the first witnesses tomorrow morning within moments after the conclusion of the opening statements. We'll just take a recess long enough to take down the easels and things, and then we'll start with the actual presentation of the witnesses' testimony for you tomorrow. All right, have a pleasant evening. And ladies and gentlemen, counsel, let me...
And okay, now we're kind of to the end of the of that day, because one of the jurors had like a medical issue. They had a medical like a pre-scheduled medical appointment or something that prevented the court from going on later in the day. But that's all we have from that day. But like, well, I mean, what do y'all think? We know Michael Palmer's opinion. Put stuff out there, and you know, into the ether. And let me know what you think. What do you think of somebody compare and contrast the opening statements of the prosecution versus the opening statements of the defense? Okay, we already read that one. Baked Alaska says, I missed the morning session, but yeah, Cochran is the cure for insomnia right now. Oh, it's the bane, it's the curse of all lawyers. You start out strong, you go past your expiration date, and then you just start to bore the shit out of the jury. And that's what he did. You know, and there's the same thing I said with Marcia Clark. Marcia Clark was a lot more dynamic than Chris Darden was. And I said she should have switched the useless shit in front of the emotional stuff. And that's what Johnny Cochran should have done. He should have done all of this technical BS, what the evidence should, what it doesn't, at the beginning of his opening statements, and then concluded his opening statements with the powerful stuff he talked about at the beginning of the trial, at the beginning of the opening statements. Oh, wait a minute. We got some free memberships here from Xcomer. Xcomer, 10 free memberships. Who were the lucky recipients? Debbie, Joe, A, Stacy, Don, Julie, O, Jane and Chantel, Dean Kovacs, Jonathan Gale, Sarah Cooper, Amelia B, Rosman Ranch, and EPW are the random recipients of XCOMer Triple Z's gifts. Thank you so much, XCOMer. That is deeply appreciated. And congratulations to you lucky 10 viewers who got those gifted subscriptions. You guys are so awesome. This is like a day for me. It's the 25,000 subscriber day. Plus, you guys are doing all these cool things. I mean, the gifted super chats are way appreciated. I'm sure those that receive them are grateful. And if you haven't already done so, go to your own YouTube preference pages and click on your receive gifts tab so that you have a chance at getting these randomly assigned gifts that are given by super generous people in the chats. I mean, it's way more than is expected. It's way more than is required. Still waiting to hear from you in the chat about okay. Johnny was Statuesque Misk says Johnny was smooth and direct following a storyline at first, but he's now meandering all over the place. Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. I feel like it shows there are good lawyers and bad lawyers. Congratulations. Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. But Michael Palmer, I'd be interested in seeing, put in the chat, what are your thoughts specifically about Johnny Cochran's opening? I know how you feel about the case in general, but in fairness, I would like to hear Michael Palmer's comments and feelings on the defense's opening statements, whatever they may be. Spatha says, damn it, are we over already? Been busy trying not to OJ the phone system, guys, and the dudes organizing the road construction in my city. Oh, I feel you. It's like we say in Utah, there's 4 seasons in Utah. There's winter, road construction, July 24th, and still road construction. But yeah, I get you about the road construction. But I'd like to hear from Michael Palmer. What are you thinking? What's your gut feeling? I'd be interested to hear. Okay. I think Johnny killed it. I think he did at the beginning too, but then it was just like, bleh. It just got mushy and not so great at the end. Brandon Lesko says, OJ stabbed my guts out years ago. Thank you. Thank you for that helpful comment. Dang it. It's just sad to see how this goes. You just start out so strong and then end on this weird note that doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I think they lost a lot of steam and a lot of momentum. And Johnny Cochran has a lot to blame. I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around for Johnny Cochran in ending this, the way he ended the arguments. I don't know. Brandon Lesko says you need a pimp. We have a pimp cup emoji. Somebody, yeah. I mean, he definitely killed her or was involved, just poor lawyering. That's absolutely my view. And we have a pimp cup. Someone show the pimp cup emoji to Brandon Lesko. We need to, yeah, there we go. Spath is showing it. Yeah, we've got the pimp cup. That's how we roll here. There, I don't know. There was a lot going on, and I think that Johnny Cochran just kind of got bogged down in the presentation. And I don't know if it was just one of those things you do when you get ahead of yourself, or you get too involved in things, or if he actually said the stuff that he wanted to say. Sometimes that happens. You get so far ahead of yourself. You go, okay, I have 8 hours to fill. I want to fill it all so the prosecution can't use it to start their case in chief. And you kind of lose track of where you're going. And I don't know if that's where we are. I'm scrolling through a video here right now, because it's not the end of the opening statement. So I'm trying to find the actual end of the opening statement. There was a lot of motions on the day following this. All right. Now I've got it here. I need, oh my God. All right. Brandon Lesko says, are we finishing the rest of the arguments? That's exactly what I was doing just now. I was rambling on and also trying to find the next segment of the video because I'd closed it at some point. There's still 1 hour to go on Johnny Cochran's statements. I was thinking, I just can't do another hour tonight. I wanted to finish up the opening statements tonight, but there's enough in this last hour of Johnny Cochran's opening statements that I could easily pull it into 2 hours next time. So we're not going to finish the rest of the opening statements today. I'll pull the plug on it at this point because I'm kind of dying because of you specifically, Brandon Lesko. But again, at the same time, I'm eternally grateful. I wanted to finish Johnny Cochran's opening statements today, but after 2.5 hours with still an hour to go, that would put us probably right around the 4.5 hour mark. Execution, I don't think I skipped over your super chat. If it's where I think it is. Why is Jeff doing $100 shots today? It's not effing Friday. That's exactly my question. That's just kind of the accepted thing. Someone gives you $100, you at least owe them a shot of whiskey. I didn't skip over your super chat. I just haven't got there yet. It was 3 minutes ago, execution. Hang on. Would you ever give up your job for YouTubing? Probably not. Because at least my job is stable. Every month here just is so different, and it's totally reliant upon certain people, for super chats. Like if the people that give super chats just like went away, I'd be screwed. Whereas, I do my law job, 8-10 hours a day. Every month I get a set amount stuck in my bank account. I'm comfortable with that. I lack the. It's the you go with the devil rather than the devil you don't know. I know what I get working for my office. This is just kind of an extra grift thing because I'm getting old and I need me a retirement. But this is a great retirement gig. I mean, I figure at my office, I've probably got a good 10, 15 years left in me. Maybe 13 years. But after retirement, something like this, who knows what YouTube or Twitch or whatever will be 15 years from now. What will be the new thing that's out there? But I mean, something like this could be a great retirement gig where I'm doing my thing and getting some of that retirement cash. But I mean, unless there was some ridiculous event that happened that skyrocketed me to like Nick Rekieta levels and beyond, I would definitely keep my day job. Meme Copium is here already. It's like 11:41 our time. Welcome, Meme Raiders. Good to have y'all here. We're just kind of shooting the shit here as we wind this down. Like I said, I wanted to get through all of the opening statements, but Johnny Cochran went on a long time. He's still got an hour left. And to be fair to him, this was the boring part. Today was the boring part of his opening statements. The last hour, he kind of slowly ramps up to the end to where he was so impassioned at the end of his opening statements. He was actually being admonished by Judge Ito. We'll do those. We'll do those next week. Like, I'm sorry we didn't get through all of it this week. We'll hit it up next week and finish off the OJ Simpson opening statements next week. And after that, I probably will go straight to the Cato Kalin testimony. It's been so long since I've reviewed it. I'll have to go back and see if the prosecution questioning of Cato Kalin is any worth. I don't remember it being useful or worthwhile in any way, shape, or form. So we may just go to the cross-examination of Cato Kalin, but we may have to do some of the opening statement. I mean, the direct examination from the prosecution. I'll just have to review it and make sure what's going on. But from now on, where I plan to go with the OJ Simpson part of my stream is Cato Kalin. Definitely want to do the F. Lee Bailey and Mark Fuhrman interaction, and then highlights of the 8.5 days that Barry Scheck savaged Dennis Fung, the LA criminologist, and then the closing arguments by both sides. And then I'll have to figure out something to do after that. But I mean, that should take another month or two to get through, doing one a week. Jillian N says, Jeff needs to support himself in the fashion to which he's become accustomed. Oceans of whiskey, cool hats, pipes, juicy ladies, and so forth. I got my stash back there. You know, we're doing good. But in fairness, I forgot I had this cigar. So, dang, I got to smoke that before I go to sleep. Brandon Lesko, you can finish them, keep the faith. Yeah, well, no, we'll keep finishing it. But it's people like you that make my life rewarding yet difficult. Execution, I agree with Brandon. Thank you so much for your super chat. All right. Oh, Madcore Mofo, you're here too? Oh, yeah, there you are. Hey. Hi, Madcore Mofo. We got me, Meme Copium, and Madcore Mofo here. You guys went long. I'm just getting ready to pull the ripcord on this thing. But let me give you what's going on the rest of the week. I wasn't aware of tomorrow. I have absolutely what I consider to be a living hell. I have to go to a business leader's stupid reception tomorrow. I hate receptions, and there's a lot of arguments in in philosophical communities that hell, after we die, if there's an afterlife, if we go to hell, it's a hell of our own creation. A hell of my own creation would be a reception. I hate receptions. I hate walking up to him and go, hi, I'm Jeff. I'm an international lawyer. Here's my business card. What do you do? How long have you been in Korea? What? Oh, I would rather self-delete myself than go through all of that. But tomorrow I have to go to one of these business leaders receptions. Why do I have to go? Because it's all you can drink free beer and all you can eat pizza and barbecue. And wings. So yeah, I'm going totally because of all you can eat food and drink. But when I finish, I will be back here. I kind of got the time frame narrowed down. It starts at 7:30. I'm going to leave by 9-ish. So I assume by 9 p.m. Eastern, I will be here. We'll just do a short stream about C Boozy and other internet assholes and all the shit that's going wrong on the internet currently in the LawTube community. We'll just kind of do a chill stream tomorrow. And then Friday we'll have Fair and Balanced on. Fair and Balanced will be here. We'll do our unexplained stream. I wanted to have her sister Hannah on, but Hannah's off. She'll be on a plane while we're doing our thing. So Thursday will be just a casual you'll see boozy internet shit stream. Friday, unbalanced with Farron. Farron balanced with the unexplained. We'll be talking about some really cool stuff. Giants of Kandahar, Nazi UFOs, Russian UFOs, undersea UFOs. Cool stuff. We'll be hitting a lot of things. We'll try to hit a lot of things. We usually go way off the rails instantly. Sunday morning Asia time, Saturday night US time, we'll be doing a members only stream. So if you're a member to the channel, then you'll be able to participate in that. The link, the notifications should already be set, but I'll post a link on my my community channel. Next Monday will be Maritime Monday, but it'll be a little bit later than usual. Tuesday, we will continue with the OJ Simpson. We'll finish up Johnny Cochran's things on Tuesday, and then we'll decide what to do from there. But that'll get us through the next week. Let me make sure I've got all the super chats. That burning maker. All right, yeah, I do have all the super chats. There's no outstanding anythings. Folks, it's been a great day. We're at 25,005 subscribers now. Next stop, 26,000. Friday, October 7th will be the Fuck It Friday 25,000 member extravaganza. I'm sending out a shit ton of invitations to other YouTubers to come and join me. The YouTubers that helped me get to 25,000 subscribers so quickly in only 4 months when it can take others years to get to. I want to have them on, whether they show up or not. That's their own deal, but we'll still do our Fuck It Friday thing. Save your shekels. Come 2 weeks from now to that. We've got one more super chat to get through tonight. Jillian N coming in at the wire with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Perhaps the Scope Monkey trial at some point. Maybe no footage that I know of yet. Perhaps the film Inherit the Wind for something. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, or near the beginning of the stream, there's certain lawyers that I absolutely am in awe of by how they present themselves, how they argue. Jerry Spence, I've already done a video about Jerry Spence. You can go back somewhere in mid-June, I believe, if you go back in my video history. Jerry Spence is one of them. Barry Scheck is one of them. And that's why we're doing this whole OJ Simpson thing, so we can get to the Barry Scheck cross-examination. Extrication. I am not so drunk. I'm just getting started here. And another one of the lawyers is Clarence Darrow. And Clarence Darrow was a lawyer on the Scopes Monkey trial. And it was supposed to be one of the greatest closing arguments in the history of legal arguments from both sides. But unfortunately, Clarence Darrow, who argued, and William Jennings Bryan, who argued, they had agreed that they would not record or publish their closing arguments. And the Scopes Monkey trial is the big trial that was the idea. That was the creationism versus evolution argument in the school, where a school teacher was being prosecuted for teaching evolution in school. But unfortunately, those closing arguments are lost to time. And maybe we need to kind of talk about it from an Inherit the Wind perspective, which was the movie that was made about the Scopes Monkey trial. Jillian Ann, that would be a great idea. I just wish we had source material to go to. I love it. I love these amazing lawyers. We've lost the ability to orate the way that these lawyers did, and I'm definitely going to get into the few lawyers that I absolutely respect as lawyers. Everybody's a flawed human. It's not how they are as a human being; it's how they were as lawyers. And again, Jerry Spence, F. Lee Bailey, Barry Scheck, and Clarence Darrow are the four that I point to. Statuesque Misk, you come in as being our newest member. Thank you so much. I'm shocked you're not a member already, but thank you so much for joining the membership. You are our newest member, and you are the clean and sober member today. What do I got here? And Crystal Legal Vices, Ronco Law and Lumber, and Scott Cardinal cover the Scopes Monkey Trial and Trials of the Century, and they did a very, 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 very good job. I will cover Clarence Darrow as a lawyer on my stream. But yeah, all right. We're 2 hours and 50 minutes into this. I just want to say thank you so much for everybody that made this. The reason I'm like doing this is not for any particular reason. It's just that my Johnny Depp Megapint Legal Vices Pimp Cup was blocking my subscriber count. I'm at 25,005 subscribers right now, and that's all due to you. Thank you, members of the chat, members of the Vice Squad. Thank you so much for all the support you've given me over the past 4.5 months, 4 months and 19 days to be exact. You got me where I am today. Mods, you've kept this absolute shit show that I do 5 days a week in order. Undying thanks to all of you, my mods, for everything you do in this regard. And like, subscribe, hit the notification button, come back later and leave a comment to feed the algorithm to let them know you're engaging with me. And we will be back. We'll continue to do this tomorrow. Join me a little bit later. I'll put up the notification soon on Twitter. Join me a little bit later than usual. I would guess right around 9 a.m. Eastern time for just a quick deal of C Boozy and other internet shit that's going on. And Friday, Fair and Balanced. Monday, Maritime Monday. Tuesday, more OJ Simpson. And that'll take us up for a reasonable period of time. Guys, I love you. Thank you for being here. You are all the most amazing people I know. And today's a special day for me. So a special thanks to all of you. Everybody, no matter what you do. Whoa, X-Comer coming in with a super sticker for 20. Thank you so much. Game over. And it's a game over super sticker. Until next time, until tomorrow, join me and enjoy your legal vices. Good night. Bye.